The Throne of the Mechas. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1601, The Secret of Element. There are tens of thousands of cosmic mysteries recorded in the general outline of the universe. Which one should I start learning? Xia Xingchen's eyes lit up. There are so many mysteries hidden in the universe. It is impossible to comprehend them all. Well, my goal is to create an element core. If you want to create an element core, you must first comprehend the elemental secrets. There are 4 types of elemental secrets. I will start with the thunder secret. Xia Xingchen pondered for a while, calmed down, and immersed himself completely in the general outline of the universe. It took 10 days for Xia Xingchen to finally comprehend the thunder secret. It's done. I comprehended it. Xia Xingchen was delighted, and lightning sparks danced in his eyes. It's easier to comprehend the thunder secret than I thought. Xia Xingchen sighed. Any cosmic secret is not easy to understand. However, Xia Xingchen was very successful this time, and it took 10 days. Others may not be able to comprehend it even after 10 years. Xia Xingchen thought for a while, for 2 reasons. First, the records in the general outline of the universe were very detailed, and the secrets of thunder were explained very clearly. Second, although Xia Xingchen was not a thunder type psychic, his Qinglang mecha was a thunder type attack. Xia Xingchen was not unfamiliar with the use of thunder energy. General outline of the universe, it's really a good book. Xia Xingchen sighed again. He rested for a while, and then began to comprehend the secrets of fire. With the experience of the secrets of thunder, it took him less time to comprehend the secrets of fire this time, and he succeeded in comprehending it in just 5 days. The secrets of water took 3 days. The secrets of gold took 1 day. It took less than 20 days in total for Xia Xingchen to completely master the secrets of the element. Success. Xia Xingchen was delighted. I comprehended the secrets of the element not because of luck, but because of my accumulated experience. The 4 sacred beast mechas each correspond to an element of energy. I have experienced so many battles, and have already mastered them by heart. However, my talent in the element is not very good, and I have missed many opportunities for enlightenment in the past. Fortunately, I got the general outline of the universe, read the content inside, and verified it with my actual combat experience, so I was able to comprehend it smoothly. Xia Xingchen knew very well that without the accumulation of the past, he would not be able to comprehend the secrets of the element so quickly. Moreover, it was limited to the secrets of the element. Xia Xingchen had no experience accumulation for other secrets at all, and even if he read the general outline of the universe, he would not have gained much. The unity of man and nature, the unity of knowledge and action. Even if you know the truth, you must practice it to truly comprehend it. However, I'm lucky enough to comprehend the secrets of the element in such a short time. Xia Xingchen was not greedy and smiled happily. Try the power of the secret of the element. Xia Xingchen's heart was burning. He drove the beast god mecha, left the starfield arc, and flew to a desolate asteroid belt. Elemental destruction. Xia Xingchen shouted in a low voice, his eyes flashing with light. Boom. 4 kinds of elemental energy burst out from the beast god mecha, shooting in all directions, and all the meteorites along the way, no matter how big or small, were turned into powder. So powerful. Xia Xingchen couldn't help but sigh. The destructive power of this attack just now exceeded the sum of the thunder roar and the scorching sun attack. After I comprehended the secret of the element, the attack power of the beast god mecha increased by at least 40%. Xia Xingchen came to this conclusion after precise calculations, and was pleasantly surprised. Go back. Xia Xingchen was very satisfied. He clearly felt that he was 1 step closer to becoming a celestial being. After returning to the starfield arc, Xia Xingchen did not stop and began to try to make elemental cores. In the meditation room, a crystal pyramid was suspended above Xia Xingchen's head, pouring spiritual power into Xia Xingchen's body. The prototype of the element core floated in front of Xia Xingchen. Merch. Xia Xingchen took a deep breath, and his forehead was covered with fine beads of sweat. Suddenly, the energy of the 4 element poured into the element core, outlining mysterious lines on the core. It must succeed. Xia Xingchen shouted in his heart. The lines on the element core became more and more, and brighter and brighter. Xia Xingchen's face flushed. Creation is really too difficult. The key is that Xia Xingchen is not a celestial being yet, and the success rate of creating is extremely low. However, a miracle happened. The element core did not disintegrate, but slowly fell into Xia Xingchen's palm. Success. Xia Xingchen was a little unbelievable. Really succeeded. Xia Xingchen looked at the element core in front of him, and was extremely excited. Carlos, I succeeded. I created the element core. Xia Xingchen was very happy, and contacted Carlos to tell him the good news. How is it possible? Carlos was stunned, with a look of disbelief on his face. Human technology can actually create an elemental core? It's not made with technology. It's made with spiritual power. Xia Xingchen laughed. Spiritual creation? Carlos was even more shocked after hearing this. Yeah. Not as difficult as I thought. Xia Xingchen said. Point, what a lunatic. He actually used spiritual power to create an elemental core. Carlos was a little excited. Any questions? Xia Xingchen heard that Carlos' tone was wrong. Elemental cores are not valuable things. Many celestial factories can mass produce them. Just like the gears and screws in your human factories. There are not many celestial races that master spiritual creations, such as the mechanical race. Without spiritual power, they don't know how to create spiritual creations. Generally speaking, spiritual creations are used to make valuable works of art. You actually used spiritual creations to create an elemental core. In my opinion, it's like a human sculptor carefully carving a bolt. It's a waste. Carlos was so excited that he was a little incoherent. Haha, bolts are bolts. The first bolt in human history could not have been mass produced in a factory. It must have been a handmade product. Xia Xingchen smiled. Anyway, with the element core, I can make an element master mecha for Carissa. After Xia Xingchen cut off the connection, he took the element core and flew to Lingjiu Star. Lingjiu Star, Zuo Lehun and Hao Xian, two mecha design masters, have improved the other parts of the element master. They only need to wait for Xia Xingchen to come back with the element core, and then they can start making mechas. Old Hao, do you think Xingchen can get the element core? Zuo Lehun was unsure. I don't think so. Hao Xian took a sip of white wine from the bottle and shook his head gently. I believe in the master. The master will definitely do what he promised Carissa. Carissa's blue eyes flickered with light. She had confidence in Xia Xingchen, because in her heart Xia Xingchen could do everything. Bang! The door opened, and a familiar figure appeared in front of Carissa. Xia Xingchen said with a smile, Teachers, Carissa, I'm back. Carissa, this is the gift I brought you, the elemental core. You will have a new mecha soon. Thank you, Master. Carissa flew to Xia Xingchen, and kissed him hard on the cheek. Chapter 1602, Fighting in Person. Haha, Master will definitely do what he promised you. Xia Xingchen smiled, and touched Carissa's little head, with a doting look on his face. I hope my and Jaina's daughter will be as cute as Carissa in the future. Xia Xingchen thought to himself. This thought was something Xia Xingchen had never dared to think about before. Xia Xingchen and Princess Crossing were exiled to the chaotic starfield, living a precarious life. Their own safety was not guaranteed, so how could they think about getting married and having children? Now, Xia Xingchen can daydream. The final battle is about to come, and Xia Xingchen is ready to end the human civil war, help Jaina wash away her grievances, restore her identity as a princess, and even support her to ascend the throne, and make her the emperor of the Galactic Empire. There have been female emperors in the history of the empire. Princess Crossing is the legitimate heir to the throne, and her claiming the throne does not violate the laws of the empire. Xia Xingchen thought of Jaina sitting on the throne of the empire, and a sweet smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Xingchen, tell us how you got this element core. Zuo Lehun and Hao Xian urged. When people get older, they like to hear new things from the outside world. Especially Xia Xingchen's experience is different from others, which makes Zuo Lehun and Hao Xian feel itchy. Two teachers, it is not easy to make this element core. Xia Xingchen smiled, and roughly told about this trip to the world of heaven and man. The world of heaven and man. You actually went to the world of heaven and man. The two old men were stunned and couldn't help but take a breath. Xia Xingchen told the story for a whole hour. After listening, the two old men were still immersed in it and couldn't come back to their senses for a long time. Envy. I also want to see the world of heaven and man. The two old men sighed. It's a pity that to enter the Universal Civilization Network, even if you are a servant, you must at least be a quasi-heaven and man. Xia Xingchen was a little helpless. It's okay. It's okay. After you have seen it, tell us what the world of heaven and man is like, and we will have no regrets in this life. You don't have to go there in person. Zhuo Leheng said hurriedly. Yes, Xingchen, if you go, it's the same as if we went. Hao Xian smiled. Yes. Xia Xingchen nodded. Two teachers. The element core has been obtained. Everything is ready. Let's start to make the element master mecha. Okay. The two old men were full of enthusiasm. 3 top mecha designers in the Milky Way began to work overtime to make the element master mecha. The 3 worked for a whole month and overcame countless technical difficulties before they made the element master. It's difficult. It's more difficult than making the Demon King mecha. Hao Xian looked at the giant mecha in front of him that was 130 meters high inside. The element master mecha implemented Hao Xian's heavy ship and cannon theory. It was huge, reaching 130 meters, taller than the Demon King mecha, and was a well-deserved behemoth. The mecha used 4 colors. Red for fire, blue for water, cyan for thunder, white for wind. The 4 colors of paint seemed a bit fancy to Xia Xingchen, but Carissa was very satisfied. The little girl liked things with bright colors. She even wanted to paint the whole mecha pink, but was stopped by Xia Xingchen, Hao Xian and Zhuo Leheng. After the element master was manufactured, it was tested and confirmed to be normal. The next step was to let Carissa test drive it. But Xia Xingchen worked overtime to manufacture the element master mecha, often working all night and hardly resting. He was really exhausted, so he handed Carissa's test drive of the mecha to Meredith and asked her to help test the performance. Okay. Meredith agreed immediately. Xia Xingchen returned to his room, fell on the bed and fell asleep. 10 hours later, Xia Xingchen woke up and felt refreshed. He hadn't slept for such a long time. After a simple wash and some food, Xia Xingchen came to the mecha shooting range. Carissa was testing the element master in the shooting range. Xia Xingchen was also curious about the performance of the element master. Moreover, he couldn't wait to see how happy Carissa was when she drove the elemental overlord. Mech shooting range. Meredith sat on a chair in the control room, watching the big screen in front of him show Carissa driving the elemental overlord mech and fighting with 4 mechas. The test drive project has reached the last item, actual combat exercise. Meredith called the 4 strongest mech masters on the coffin star. 3 of them were S level, and 1 of them was even a legendary mech master. The 4 strong men fought with Carissa to test the actual combat capability of the elemental overlord mech. Xia Xingchen pushed the door and walked into the control room. Meredith stood up quickly and said excitedly, "Xingchen, you are here. The mech you made for Carissa is perfect for her. I have never seen a mech with such powerful performance. Oh, except for your beast god mech." Xia Xingchen nodded. "Don't tell Carissa that I'm here for the time being, so as not to affect her performance. Report the data of the previous tests to me." "Yes." Meredith nodded and handed over the data report. Xia Xingchen sat on the chair, looking at the data report carefully. "Hahaha, you rubbish are too weak. You are no match for Carissa." Carissa's silver bell-like laughter came over. In the shooting range, Carissa drove the elemental overlord mech, completely crushing the 4 mech masters and making them lose their armor and look miserable. Boom. The mech of an S-class mech master was destroyed, and he quickly activated the ejection device. The parachute slowly fell in the air. The S-class mech master had a lingering fear on his face, muttering, "Horrible, this mech is really too terrifying." The mechas of the remaining 2 S-class mech masters were also destroyed by Carissa one after another. Only the legendary mech master Bal was left struggling to hold on. There is no way Carissa is a quasi-celestial being, and her mech is too powerful. We are no match for her at all. Bal secretly complained, and under the dignity of a legendary mech master, he was still fighting desperately. Bal didn't want to lose to Carissa, and even if he lost, he didn't want to lose too badly. Waste. They are all rubbish mechas. None of them are as powerful as my elemental overlord. Haha, Kirissa's elemental overlord is really too strong. Kirissa became more and more excited, and a torrent of element like a storm blasted towards Bal. Waste. Bal felt very uncomfortable when he heard Kirissa call him like that. Haha. Kirissa is great. Teach him a lesson. Meredith looked at Kirissa's little face with a doting look. Xia Xingchen was originally reading the information. His face gradually became gloomy. He stood up and asked Meredith, "Forget about Kirissa. Do you think this is fun?" Meredith saw that Xia Xingchen's face was not right, and hurriedly said, "It's just a casual remark, and besides, Kirissa said that their mechas are rubbish, and not as good as the elemental overlord. Isn't this the truth?" Xia Xingchen shook his head, and said to Meredith, "Prepare a mecha for me. The standard mecha driven by the S-class mecha master just now will do. I want to fight in person." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1603 Doting. You're going to fight in a standard mecha? Meredith's face was full of astonishment, staring at Xia Xingchen. Yeah. Xia Xingchen nodded, with a hint of coldness on his face. Are you sure? Meredith persuaded. The performance gap between the standard mecha and your beast god mecha is too big. Facing Kirissa and the elemental master mecha, your chances of winning are not great. If you win, it's fine. If you lose, I'll be embarrassed, right? Xia Xingchen smiled coldly. That's right. Kirissa is the one who admires you the most. You are a legend in her heart. If you lose, and lose to her, it may have a bad impact on her. Meredith always speaks directly, without considering Xia Xingchen's feelings at all, and said directly, "I won't lose." Xia Xingchen said lightly, "Prepare the mecha, I'll fight." Seeing Xia Xingchen's insistence, Meredith was helpless, and could only prepare for him the standard mecha Spirit Fox, that the S-level mecha master had just driven. The Spirit Fox mech is a standard mech produced by Lingju Star. It was designed by two mech masters, Hao Xian and Zuo Lehang. Less than 100 units were produced, all equipped to the guards of Lingju Star. The mech is designed by Zuo Lehang and Hao Xian are undoubtedly fine products. Although the Spirit Fox mech is a standard mech produced on an assembly line, its performance is very excellent. Therefore, many S-level mech masters even gave up their own custom mechas and drove the Spirit Fox mechas to fight. The Spirit Fox mech is mainly used for security work inside the planet. Its firepower is not strong. In addition to the laser rifle on its back, it is also equipped with two lightsabers for mechas. In terms of defense, the Spirit Fox mech is not excellent. However, in terms of flexibility and speed, the performance of the Spirit Fox mech is extremely outstanding. Otherwise, this mech would not be named Spirit Fox. The Spirit Fox mech is indeed a good mech with superior performance. However, compared with the Elemental Overlord, the Spirit Fox mech is too far behind. The two mechas are not of the same level in terms of cost. Not only Meredith, but everyone in the control room did not think that no matter how strong Xia Xingchen was, he could not defeat Kirissa by driving the Linghu mecha. In the eyes of everyone's surprise and confusion, Xia Xingchen entered the cockpit of a Linghu mecha. Xia Xingchen had not driven a mecha other than the Beast God mecha for a long time, and was a little uncomfortable. But after a simple run-in, Xia Xingchen quickly regained his previous feeling, and drove the Linghu mecha with ease. The performance of this mecha is similar to that of the Xianheng mecha. However, the surface of the mecha does not have the spiritual paint of the Xianheng mecha. The overall performance is lower than that of the Xianheng mecha. Xia Xingchen made a comment. Fight. Xia Xingchen shouted in a low voice, and the thrusters behind the Linghu mecha sprayed white light, and a white shadow was pulled behind him, rushing into the mecha shooting range. Waste. Kirissa was a little fed up, and the Elemental Overlord swung a heavy fist, and destroyed Bal's mecha with one punch. Unbearable. Kirissa yawned and prepared to end the battle. At this moment, she saw a mecha, which was incredibly fast, rushing into the shooting range. Another Spirit Fox mecha. All of them are garbage. Kirissa didn't care. She had no interest in fighting with the Spirit Fox mecha. I'll kill you in seconds. Let this boring battle end. Clarissa's eyes flashed with dazzling light. The elemental overlord clenched his fists, and a raging torrent of element rushed towards the spirit fox mecha. However, the spirit fox mecha's figure flashed a few times like a ghost, and it actually jumped high to the top of the elemental overlord's head, with two lightsabers in its hands flashing. Not good. Clarissa had an ominous premonition in her heart. But it was too late. Swish. The spirit fox mecha suddenly accelerated, drew a strange arc in the air, and instantly reached the back of the elemental overlord. The two lightsabers pierced deeply along the gap in the outer armor. But the light in the elemental overlord's eyes went out, and the huge body first knelt down, and then fell heavily on the ground, motionless. One move. Xia Xingchen won easily. Xia Xingchen defeated Clarissa with only one move. If I'm not mistaken, Xia Xingchen just stabbed the elemental overlord's spiritual transmission center with a sword. That's how he killed her with one strike. Xia Xingchen is driving a spirit fox mecha with ordinary performance. He can actually defeat the elemental overlord. Everyone in front of the screen in the control room was stunned when they saw this scene. Clarissa Meredith was stunned for a moment, his face full of panic. He ran out of the control room and ran towards the elemental overlord. Before Meredith ran over, Clarissa came out of the cockpit of the elemental overlord with no injuries on her body, but her expression was furious. Clarissa, are you okay? Meredith looked worried. Clarissa lost. She actually lost to a loser. Clarissa threw herself into Meredith's arms and burst into tears. Clarissa, the person who defeated you is not a loser. Meredith whispered. Clarissa. Xia Xingchen jumped off the spirit fox mech and walked towards Clarissa with a cold face. Ah. Master. Clarissa was surprised to see that the other mech master was Xia Xingchen, and then she burst into laughter. So it was Master who was driving the spirit fox mech. No wonder he is so strong. Clarissa still had tears on her face, but she was already laughing. Clarissa couldn't accept losing to other mech masters. But Clarissa thought it was normal to lose to Xia Xingchen. Master is master, an existence that no one can defeat. Clarissa, it doesn't feel good to be defeated by others, right? Xia Xingchen said with a cold face. Well, Clarissa was really sad just now. Clarissa nodded. If I beat you, and insulted you, and called you a waste, what would you think? Xia Xingchen said. Angry. Of course Clarissa is angry. Clarissa is not a waste. Clarissa smiled, but Master won't scold Clarissa. Clarissa is very obedient. Xia Xingchen had a stern face, but after hearing Clarissa's answer, his expression softened a little. Clarissa is still a child. As the saying goes, children speak without restraint, and many of her words are indeed unintentional. However, adults are needed to guide her, and not let her be too unscrupulous. Clarissa, of course you are not a waste. The same goes for other people. No one is a waste. They are just weaker than you. Xia Xingchen said. Weak, isn't it a waste? The law of the universe is that the weak are preyed upon by the strong, and the strong are respected. Clarissa blinked her big eyes. Who told you this? Xia Xingchen suddenly said in a harsh voice. Clarissa was startled and glanced at Meredith secretly. Meredith held Clarissa in her arms, looking protective, and said, why are you shouting so loudly? You scared Clarissa. The universe is a cruel world, where the weak are preyed upon by the strong. Is Clarissa wrong? Xia Xingchen shook his head. Clarissa is not wrong. You are wrong. You spoil her too much. Chapter 1604, Kind Mother and Strict Teacher. Meredith wanted to argue, but suddenly pursed her lips and stopped arguing. Meredith is a very rational and smart woman. As soon as Xia Xingchen said that, Meredith immediately realized that she was indeed too doting on Clarissa. If it weren't for Meredith's doting, how could Clarissa, such a cute and well-behaved girl, be called Little Devil Star by the people of Lingji Star? Meredith asked Xia Xingchen to be Carissa's master, and the original intention was to find someone stricter to discipline Clarissa. Facing Clarissa, Meredith always felt that she owed her, so she couldn't bear to scold her. Over time, this kind of feeling turned into doting, and Clarissa became more and more unscrupulous. Clarissa, your master is right. It's all my fault. Go and listen to what your master says. Meredith whispered. Meredith, what's wrong with you? Clarissa felt that Meredith's mood was a little wrong. Go ahead. I'm fine. Meredith turned his head away, not daring to look into Claire's eyes, and gently pushed her in the direction of Xia Xingchen. Master. Claire slowly walked to Xia Xingchen, lowered her head, tears in her blue eyes, and said pitifully, "Did Claire do something wrong? Claire, I told you, it's not your fault. The principles that Meredith taught you are not wrong. The universe is so cruel, the weak are the prey of the strong. However, the weak are the prey of the strong, and the strong are respected, which is not the only truth of the universe. The universe is vast and boundless, it is inclusive, and allows any life to evolve. The end point of these lives is heaven." Xia Xingchen's heart softened suddenly. To be honest, he couldn't harden his heart to Claire. "Do you know why I drove the Spirit Fox Mecha to fight you? And I didn't let you go. I defeated you directly?" "I don't know." Claire shook her head, her little face full of confusion. "I want you to understand one thing. The universe is infinite. Life is infinite. There will always be someone stronger than you, and there will always be a race stronger than humans. You must maintain a sense of awe. Never be proud and complacent." Xia Xingchen said. "Master, I remember." Kirissa nodded, not quite understanding. The second point. Since there will always be a race stronger than humans, such as those high and mighty celestial beings, do they have the right to insult humans and say that humans are garbage? Xia Xingchen continued. "Of course not." Kirissa waved her little pink fist. "Who dares to say that? Kirissa will teach them a lesson." "Kirissa." Xia Xingchen laughed. "Remember, strength and weakness are relative. There is no absolute strong person or absolute weak person in the world. Being weak is not wrong. What is wrong is to be willing to be weak, not striving for progress. Those mecha masters you defeated, they all worked very hard and were the best among humans. It's just that they are not as strong as you for the time being. Do you dare to guarantee that they will never surpass you?" "Kirissa will work hard and try not to let them surpass." Kirissa looked up with a proud look on her face. "That's right. Work hard. You may not succeed if you work hard. But if you don't work hard, you will never succeed. No matter how talented you are, it's useless." Xia Xingchen said with a smile. "Master, I understand. I will never laugh at others again." Kirissa's big eyes sparkled, and it seemed that she really understood. "Xingchen, you still have a way." Meredith was also convinced by Xia Xingchen's easy to understand truth. There must be a loving mother, but there must be a strict teacher. "Meredith, I have a request. Please let me take Kirissa to venture outside the Coffin Star. She is a very smart child. She needs to go out and see the world." Xia Xingchen said. "Outside? But there is a war outside. It's too dangerous." Meredith looked reluctant. "Meredith, Kirissa really wants to go out and see." Kirissa hugged Meredith's thigh and acted coquettishly. Meredith wanted to refuse with a hard heart, but seeing Kirissa's look, she really couldn't say it. After thinking for a long time, Meredith could only compromise and looked at Xia Xingchen. "Xingchen, I promise you, you must protect Kirissa and don't let her go to dangerous places." Xia Xingchen smiled. "Don't worry, I only have this one apprentice." Kirissa heard Meredith's promise, jumped up, kissed Meredith on the cheek, and cheered excitedly. "Meredith, I love you so much." In the 7 days recorded, Kirissa and Meredith spent a happy time. Xia Xingchen also accompanied her father Xia Yu, chatting and playing chess, and taking care of her father's diet and daily life. 7 days later, Xia Xingchen took Kirissa with him, and left the Coffin Star, to venture into the starry sky. 3 months later, the war between the Empire and the North broke out again. This time, it was not the Northern Army that attacked first, but the Imperial Army. Although the intelligence showed that Andre had returned to the front line. But Qin believed that this so-called Andre was just a substitute, at most a clone of Andre. Qin has always been stubborn and self-righteous. He did not believe the inferences made by the intelligence department after a lot of calculations, but chose to believe his own eyes. After all, Qin saw with his own eyes that Andre blew himself up in the battle with Xia Xingchen, and even the Demon King Mecha was reduced to ashes. There was no reason for Andre to be immortal. With Qin's narrow imagination, he naturally could not imagine that Andre used the soul gem of the elder celestial being to shatter his body, but his soul was intact, and returned to the celestial church on Siberia Star, and was resurrected again with the help of the celestial being. Therefore, the Imperial army was not fully prepared. Qin Yan was eager for quick success, and did not want to miss the opportunity, so he ordered the Imperial army to go to war and raid the defense line of the Northern Army. At the beginning of the battle, as Qin Yan expected, the Northern Army retreated step by step, gave up several planets outside the Xia Xingchen star region, and shrunk the front line back to the Chang'an star region. Your Highness, this is obviously a way to lure the enemy deep into our territory. Although we have won several battles and recovered several planets, we have not gained much benefit. The enemy's military strength has not been greatly damaged. An old general analyzed the situation and gave advice to Qin Yan. Haha, General Zhu, this is wrong. What do you mean by winning several battles? We drove the enemy out of the Xia Xingchen star region, which is an unprecedented victory. Next, we should seize the opportunity to pursue the victory and recover the Chang'an star region. Drive these northern barbarians back to their homeland in the snow and ice. Qin Yan said with confidence and a smile. Your Highness. General Zhu wanted to persuade him. No need to say more. Behind us is the capital of the empire. In front of us is the territory of the empire. We have no way out. We can only seize the opportunity to pursue the victory. Qin Yan waved his hand impatiently. Your Highness. What this old minister said is true. You can't take the fate of the empire as a joke. If you don't listen to me, I will crash, and I here on the spot. This old general was loyal to the empire. Seeing that Qin Yan didn't listen, he could only die. Alright. Everyone, stop seeking death all day long. Replace the vanguard fleet, and let the death row camp serve as the vanguard fleet to test the enemy's strength. If there is an ambush, they are just some death row prisoners anyway. Qin Yan was helpless, but finally listened to the general's advice. Chapter 1605 Death Row Camp. Purgatory Star, the seventh prison of the Empire. A group of ragged prisoners, wearing heavy metal shackles, wielded hose deep in the dark mine. The burly jailer, holding a high voltage electric whip with a blue glow, would whip any prisoner who was a little slower. After being hit, the prisoner immediately fell to the ground and convulsed, and some even foamed at the mouth and fainted on the spot. Those with weaker bodies might die directly from heart paralysis. Most of the prisoners were well-mannered, thin and frail, and there were very few prisoners who looked ferocious. Because almost all the prisoners in this prison were political prisoners, Qin Yan fabricated charges against all those who opposed him, and sent them all to prison. Among the prisoners, there were many scholars, businessmen, scientific researchers, and the guardian knights of the two princesses Xingyu. Yao Yuan was among them. Yao Yuan used to be the captain of the Saxon and the guardian knight of Princess Crossing, but now he has become a prisoner, living a dark life deep in the mines. He doesn't know how much time has passed. Princess, I heard that you have been exiled to the distant chaotic starfield with the Star Marquis. You are safe now, right? Yao Yuan was imprisoned, but he still did not forget that he was the guardian knight of Princess Crossing, and he was still concerned about Kinjaina's safety. What are you daydreaming about? Go. The jailer saw Yao Yuan in a daze and whipped him. But Yao Yuan felt a sharp pain in his body and fainted immediately. When Yao Yuan woke up, he found himself in the cargo hold of a spaceship. The people around him were shackled and had collars around their necks. They were the inmates of the 7th prison. Why are we on the spaceship? Are they going to execute us? Yao Yuan's heart trembled. No way. If they want to execute us, they can execute us on Purgatory Star. Why bother to go to the spaceship? A prisoner whispered. That's right. Yao Yuan looked at the cargo hold and identified from some subtle traces that the spaceship was a glorious battleship. This type of battleship has long been outdated and retired for a long time. It can be regarded as an antique. Could someone have converted the battleship into a cargo ship? Yao Yuan was suspicious and felt that it was unlikely. Converting a battleship into a cargo ship is, first, against imperial law, and second, it is unnecessary. Yao Yuan was not unfamiliar with the glorious battleship. He found a trace of welding on the wall and took great pains to tear off the iron sheet. Behind the iron sheet was a closed round porthole. Looking out through the porthole, Yao Yuan saw that it was pitch black outside. They were indeed in the starry sky. What shocked Yao Yuan was that not far from the spaceship, there were hundreds of light spots moving slowly. They were all glorious battleships, just like the battleship he was on. Then there was no doubt that there must be prisoners in the battleship cabin, just like Yao Yuan. Death row camp. A term that made Yao Yuan's soul tremble immediately emerged in his mind. In the history of the Galactic Empire, there were indeed death row squads of prisoners. The Imperial Army gathered the death row prisoners, distributed simple weapons, and asked them to perform some extremely dangerous tasks. Simply put, they were cannon fodder. Yao Yuan was now one of the cannon fodder. Bang! At this moment, the hatch opened, and several prison guards followed the deputy warden in. The deputy warden was a fat man with a big belly named Scene. His fat face was full of panic. Ahem. Who of you used to be a spaceship repairman? Our spaceship has encountered some minor problems. Scene held the whip in his hand, coughed dryly, and said loudly. No one spoke. Most of the people in the cabin were political prisoners. Scholars, lawyers, doctors, businessmen. There are many professions, but none of them is a spaceship repairman. I am. Yao Yuan stood up. As a captain, he naturally had to know a lot about spaceships. Moreover, Yao Yuan had already vaguely guessed that there was something wrong with this spaceship. Very good. Scene was delighted and quickly asked Yao Yuan to follow him to the bridge. On the bridge, Warden Steve was as anxious as an ant on a hot pot, pacing back and forth. When he saw Scene coming back, he quickly asked, have you found someone who knows how to repair the spacecraft? Yes. He is it. Scene pointed at Yao Yuan. Yao Yuan used to be the captain of the Saxon. Steve read Yao Yuan's identity information and was secretly surprised after seeing his resume. Steve had heard of the Saxon, which was a heroic warship with outstanding military achievements. Yao Yuan was the captain of the Saxon and also a combat hero. Later, Yao Yuan participated in the Xianyuan Star Rebellion that shocked the Empire. In order to save Princess Crossing, he violated the imperial law and became a prisoner. Steve was in awe of Yao Yuan and immediately asked Scene to remove the shackles from Yao Yuan, leaving only the collar. Captain, please come and see what's wrong with this starship and why it can't change its route. Yao Yuan nodded, walked to the console, and his fingers flew on the keyboard. He watched the codes flash across the screen, and his brows furrowed more and more. What's the destination? Yao Yuan asked. Chang'an Star Region, a small planet called Nan. Steve said. The spacecraft has no problems, but the destination is locked and cannot be changed. Yao Yuan said in a deep voice, I would like to ask, has Nan Star already fallen and is under the control of the Northern Army? The prison is in a completely closed state, and the prisoners have few sources of information. Most prisoners don't even know that Chang'an Star Region has fallen. Yao Yuan naturally doesn't know, he just inferred it from limited information. Steve nodded, his face surprised. That's right. Yao Yuan continued, if I'm not mistaken, there must be some obsolete old mechas and outdated weapons and equipment in the arsenal of this spaceship. Steve was stunned and blurted out, how do you know? Yao Yuan shook his head and smiled bitterly, death row. All of us have been betrayed by Qin Yun and have become cannon fodder and sent to the front line to die. Nan Star is a battlefield. Those old mechas and weapons and equipment are our weapons. However, I think these weapons are more convenient for suicide than fighting. Death row? Steve's body couldn't stop shaking, his face pale. Why? You are prisoners, we are not. We jailers have not committed any crimes. Why should we die with you prisoners? Yao Yuan shrugged his shoulders and said nothing. In Qin Yun's eyes, jailers and prisoners are just cannon fodder. What's the difference? Yao Yuan looked at the screen. A blue planet. Nan Star. When the spaceship arrives at its destination, it will be their death. Nan Star is their burial place. Chapter 1606 They are heroes. Chang'an Star Region. King Tang Star. This is an asteroid located at the edge of Chang'an Star Region, and it has never been well known. However, the location of this planet is very special. It is located in the center of a starry corridor, and is a strategic location. Therefore, the Northern Empire has arranged a lot of garrisons on King Tang Star. At this moment, the sound of artillery roared on King Tang Star, and the sky was illuminated by dazzling light. The garrisons were fighting with the enemy. There were many garrisons on King Tang Star, adding up to tens of thousands of mechas. But their enemy only had one mecha. A giant mecha with 4 colors of paint, which continuously gushed out elemental energy. Element Master. The one driving the Element Master was naturally Carissa. Facing tens of thousands of mechas, Carissa was not panicked at all. She licked her lips with her pink tongue, and her face was full of fighting enthusiasm. Elemental Domain. Carissa shouted in a low voice and directly expanded her domain. Swish. With the Element Master as the center, the enemies within a radius of 10,000 meters suddenly felt a heavy pressure like a mountain. The elemental energy was like the scorching sun, surging like the sea, so dazzling that it was almost impossible to open your eyes. Facing these low-level mecha masters, the mechas of the Northern Army fell from the sky in large numbers, without any resistance. Carissa's domain was only 10,000 meters, far less vast than Xia Xingchen's domain. However, Xia Xingchen's domain had no killing power. Carissa's elemental domain was different, and its killing power was extremely terrifying. As long as an S-level mecha master, or below entered the domain, he would be impacted by the surging elemental energy. Without Carissa's personal action, the defenders of King Tang Star were defeated and routed. Carissa, be careful when you attack, just destroy their mechas, don't hurt the mecha masters. Xia Xingchen drove the beast god mecha, hiding above the battlefield, and overlooking the battle, and said to Carissa, Master, why can't Carissa hurt them? They are all invaders from the north, all bad guys. Carissa asked with a puzzled look on her face. They are just ordinary soldiers who can only obey orders from their superiors. It's not their fault, but the fault of ambitious people like Andre, dictators, and the celestial beings behind them. Xia Xingchen explained. Xia Xingchen has never been a soft-hearted person. Since these northern soldiers are on the battlefield, they should be aware of death. However, this does not mean that Xia Xingchen really needs to kill them. In the future, humans will have to face celestial beings and face greater crises. Whether it is the Northern Army or the Imperial Army, every mecha division is a valuable force to fight against celestial beings. Xia Xingchen does not want them to die in vain in this unjust human civil war. Understood. Carissa nodded and continued to fight. Half an hour later, the battle ended, and the defenders of King Tang Star were completely wiped out. Master, I did a good job. Praise me. Carissa flew towards Xia Xingchen and the Elemental Overlord, with a smug smile on her face, as if asking for credit. Well, Carissa, you did a great job. Xia Xingchen nodded. He never hesitated to praise Carissa. Carissa's talent is beyond doubt. She is the best in the entire galaxy. She just lacked actual combat experience before. During this period, Xia Xingchen took Carissa to raid the base planets of the Northern Army, and captured 7 or 8 planets in a row. Carissa's rapid progress made Xia Xingchen dumbfounded. This little girl is too talented. Fortunately, she had too little actual combat experience before, so I could easily win by driving the Spirit Fox mecha. If I were facing Carissa now, if I were driving the Spirit Fox mecha, my chances of winning would be infinitely close to 0. Xia Xingchen thought to himself. Master praised me again. Carissa said happily, Master, which planet are we going to next? I can't wait to fight. Xia Xingchen nodded and said, according to the plan, we will go to Ellington next. Ellington, like King Tang, is also a strategic location. At this time, Xia Xingchen suddenly received a video message from the Star Domain Arc. HMM. Xia Xingchen raised her eyebrows and immediately opened the video. Claude, dressed in military uniform, appeared on the screen. His expression was serious, and he said in a deep voice, Xingchen, we have just intercepted the intelligence of the Imperial Army, and deciphered part of it. Qin Yun mobilized the death row camp. There are more than 100,000 prisoners trapped on the old starship, and sent to the front line as cannon fodder. 100,000 prisoners? Xia Xingchen was stunned, and his face immediately darkened. Qin Yun is as crazy as ever. Although they are prisoners, they are 100,000 lives after all. Captain Claude, what do you mean? Xia Xingchen asked. These prisoners are basically political prisoners. They were framed and thrown into prison because they opposed Qin Yun. Now Qin Yun is sending them to die. Of course, these are not the key points. The key point is that among the prisoners are the guardian knights of the two princesses Dingyu. Claude said hurriedly. What? Xia Xingchen's face suddenly changed. Xia Xingchen felt deep sympathy for the prisoners who were sent to die. But it was just sympathy. Qin Yan had killed many people, and Xia Xingchen was not a god, and it was impossible for him to save everyone. Besides, the destination of these prisoners was the war front. It was not that Xia Xingchen had not considered rescuing them, but the risk factor was too high. However, among the prisoners there were actually the guardian knights of the two princesses Dingyu. That was a different situation. Xia Xingchen used to be the guardian knight of Princess Crossing. He has always been a loner, although he was not familiar with the other guardian knights. However, Princess Crossing was executed at the Xianyuan Star execution ground, and the other guardian knights also risked their lives and tried desperately to save Princess Crossing. It can be said that without the sacrifice of the other guardian knights, Xia Xingchen would not have been able to get close to the execution ground. They are all heroes. Xia Xingchen made a decision quickly. No matter how dangerous it is, he would go to save them. Clarissa, things have suddenly changed. Our destination has changed to Nanstar. This battle is different from the previous ones, and it may be dangerous. You must remember not to be brave. If you encounter bad situations, hide behind me. Xia Xingchen instructed. Dangerous battles. Clarissa likes dangerous battles the most. The more dangerous, the more fun. Clarissa laughed happily. Xia Xingchen looked at Clarissa's happy look and shook his head helplessly. Among the celestial genes in Clarissa's body, there must be a part of the warlike gene. Clarissa likes to fight and enjoys the fun brought by fighting. She is a natural strong person. Chapter 1607 Prisoner of War Camp, Nanstar. Hundreds of glorious battleships suddenly attacked, scaring General Harden, who was responsible for defending this starfield. General Harden was even ready to sacrifice his life for his country. However, what General Harden did not expect was that the people rushing down from the battleships were almost unarmed Imperial prisoners. The result of this battle was no surprise. Hundreds of battleships and more than 100,000 prisoners were all captured. Yao Yuan also went from a prisoner to a prisoner of war. To be honest, Yao Yuan wanted to struggle at first. Although the weapons and mechas on the battleships were obsolete, they were weapons after all. If Yao Yuan was in command, he believed that he would be able to hold out for more than 24 hours. By then, the Imperial Army starships might have arrived at Nanstar. However, the battle had just started, and Yao Yuan and other prisoners had not surrendered yet, but the warden and jailer surrendered one after another, and became prisoners of the Northern Army. No blood in the mouth. After being captured, Yao Yuan was escorted to the prisoner of war camp. He saw the warden Steve and the jailers tied together with ropes, and spat on Steve's face without mercy. Steve glared at Yao Yuan fiercely and cursed. Boy, I've been kind to you, but you insulted me like this. When I go back, I will peel your skin off. Go back. Yao Yuan was slightly startled, and said in astonishment, no wonder you jailers are in a hurry to surrender. Do you think you can leave here alive? Aren't you too naive? Why can't we leave alive? According to the prisoner of war law, as long as we surrender, the other party must guarantee our safety. Steve said. Ridiculous. Hearing Steve's words, Yao Yuan shook his head repeatedly. Yao Yuan didn't want to leave here alive. But is it possible? The prisoner of war law is just a piece of paper for the Northern Army. Not to mention the Northern Army. Even if the Imperial Army captured the Northern prisoners of war, according to Qin Yan's character, they would kill them all and leave no one alive. General Harden, the head count is complete. A total of 102,803 prisoners. An adjutant stepped forward and said to General Harden, this is an unprecedented glorious victory. General, how do we deal with these prisoners? Are you sure they are all Imperial prisoners? Harden asked. Yes. The adjutant nodded. Kill them all and throw them into the crematorium to destroy the bodies. I don't want the Northern media to know about this. General Harden said lightly. 100,000 people. Kill them all? The adjutant was stunned for a moment, wondering if he had heard it wrong. Yes, kill them all. General Harden nodded. General, this is a violation of the prisoner of war law. After the war, you will most likely be tried by a military court. The adjutant reminded. Of course I know. General Harden said impatiently. I killed them for 3 reasons. First, they are all worthless prisoners. Qin Yun sent them here just to let them die, and let me kill them. Second, Qin Yun also wants them to explore the strength of our army. 100,000 prisoners, the number is too large, there may be spies among them. Third, we don't have enough supplies to feed these 100,000 people. General, I understand. The adjutant showed a look of sudden realization on his face. Considering these 3 points, it is better to kill these 100,000 prisoners directly. At that moment, General Harden issued an order to execute all the prisoners of war, leaving no one alive. Hearing this news, Steve's legs softened, and he sat on the ground, unable to cry. Xia Xingchen and Kirissa's Mechas were invisible and sneaked into Nanstar. 1,000 meters away from the ground, Xia Xingchen heard wailing and cursing from the prisoner camp below. Heartless. You northern bastards are all heartless bastards. You actually killed prisoners of war. 100,000 people. Don't you have a guilty conscience? Aren't you afraid of nightmares at night? Kill me. I won't let you go, even if I become a ghost. The prisoners were tied up with ropes, lined up, and shot on the spot. After the shooting, they were burned directly with flamethrowers to destroy the bodies. You actually killed prisoners of war? Xia Xingchen's eyes were full of murderous intent. Clarissa, I'm watching from the side, and you still shot. Be careful. Xia Xingchen gritted his teeth and said, this time, don't hold back. These bastards are heartless and inhumane, and they are no longer human. Xia Xingchen didn't take action himself, not just to train Clarissa, but because once Xia Xingchen took action, his identity would be exposed, and the news would immediately reach Andre's ears. Xia Xingchen killed Andre twice. When Andre heard Xia Xingchen's name, he would definitely go crazy and rush over at all costs. Xia Xingchen was not afraid of Andre. However, Andre would definitely not come alone, but would come with the Northern Army. Although Xia Xingchen was strong, he would be surrounded by thousands of troops, and his mecha energy and mental strength would eventually run out. Therefore, letting Kirissa take action and Xia Xingchen protecting him was the best choice. Haha, I don't have to hold back this time. Kirissa smiled happily, and could not wait to drive the elemental overlord out, and revealed her figure over the prisoner of war camp. Without saying a word, she bombarded the Northern Army's position. It's the remnant of the Imperial Army. There is only one mecha, not a concern. The firepower is quite fierce. Kill her. The Northern Mecha Division reacted quickly, and immediately 3 S-class Mecha divisions flanked Kirissa. Kirissa raised the corners of her mouth, revealing a sweet smile, and a pair of wind wings appeared behind the elemental overlord, which suddenly accelerated, and led a white mecha division who was as strong as a bear, and covered with black fur. Roar. The mecha of the white man, holding a sledgehammer, looked very violent. Boom. The elemental overlord swung his fist, and a flame surged from his fist, and the white man and his mecha fell into the burning flames. In a blink of an eye, the mecha was melted into liquid, and the white man had been vaporized in the high temperature, and not even his body was left. Just a face-to-face, Kirissa killed an S-class mecha master. Is it a legendary level? Impossible. The mecha master is clearly a little girl who is still wet behind the ears. A man with a hooked nose was stunned. He saw clearly that the one driving this huge mecha was a little girl in her early teens, with white skin, blue eyes, and as cute as a porcelain doll. How can there be such a person in the legendary level? The hooked nose was still surprised, and a wind blade flew over and cut him and the mecha in half, killing him on the spot. The third S-class mecha master was frightened and ejected directly from the cabin and abandoned the machine to escape. Chapter 1608, Fierce Battle on Nanstar. Less than a minute passed. Kirissa defeated 3 S-class mecha masters, killing 2 of them. The remaining one was so scared that he abandoned his plane and fled. The S-class mecha master who abandoned his plane slowly fell down on a parachute. The speed was not fast, and he was still within Kirissa's attack range. Kirissa remembered Xia Xingchen's teachings. Since the opponent had already escaped, she did not kill him. Whoosh. The elemental master turned into a blue thunder and rushed into the enemy camp, killing people. Boom boom boom. Countless mushroom clouds emerged around Kirissa, and the airwaves rolled, and shockwaves spread out one after another. Kirissa was alone with one plane, but she had the momentum of thousands of troops. In the prisoner concentration camp, countless prisoners stared with wide eyes, looking up at this blood-pumping fierce battle, and their mouths were wide open in surprise. Who is this mecha master? She is so strong. She is not at a disadvantage when facing the Northern Army alone. She just defeated 3 S-class mecha masters with one move. She must be a legendary one. Legendary mecha masters are like dragons that are hard to find. It is very difficult to see one. I'm lucky to see one today. She is really powerful. Although a legendary mecha master has the power to destroy a country alone. But she is facing the Northern Army, a regular army. Even if the Northern Army is beaten by her for a while, her mecha energy and mental strength will be exhausted over time. Besides, the Northern Army will send reinforcements soon. The prisoners speculated about Kirissa's identity and were worried about her. There were many knowledgeable people among the prisoners who analyzed the battle situation very well. They were all very grateful to Kirissa, but they did not think she could win. This legendary senior. Thank you for your help. But, you are alone. You can't win. Yes. How can one person defeat an army? Run. Run now while your mecha's energy is not exhausted. With your strength, you should be able to escape. Many people shouted loudly, asking Kirissa to give up the fight and leave Nanstar immediately before the reinforcement arrived. Kirissa was enjoying the thrill of fighting. Seeing the prisoners looking at her in astonishment with gratitude in their eyes, she felt sweet in her heart, as if she had eaten honey. However, when Kirissa heard the prisoners asking her to give up the fight and escape, she was immediately unhappy. What do you mean I can't win? You guys are really blind. Kirissa was unhappy and pouted. Humph, you actually look down on Kirissa. Well, I'll show you my real ability and let you look at me with new eyes. You say I can't beat these useless troops? Can't save you? I just want to save you. Kirissa's childish temper came up. Her eyes became blank, and the elemental overlord mecha burst into a dazzling brilliance. Boom. Like a burning fireball, the elemental overlord rushed into the sky and destroyed a warship hidden in the clouds and shooting at her. General, the 4th Mecha Brigade was wiped out. The Masora battleship was destroyed. The Special Operations Team quicksand lost contact and is suspected to have been destroyed by the enemy. In the Northern Army's headquarters on Nanstar, General Harden heard a series of battle reports, all of which were bad news. He felt dizzy and his eyes went black, and he almost fainted. How is it possible? Doesn't the enemy only have one mecha? General Harden muttered to himself. General, there is indeed only one enemy, but he is ridiculously strong. He must be an elite mecha division of the Imperial Army. No, he is a legendary peak mecha division. The adjutant was sweating and whispered. Why? Why? General Harden was at a loss. The level of the mecha division exceeded the legendary level, and it was difficult for ordinary troops to cause substantial damage to it. Their only chance of winning was to exhaust the mecha energy or mental power of the legendary mecha division. However, the legendary mecha division was not a fool. Once they saw that the situation was not good, they would immediately flee. The legendary mecha division had the power of the stars, and it was not just a casual talk that one person could destroy a country. To deal with the legendary level, only a stronger legendary level could be sent. However, the strongest combat force on Nanstar was the S-level mecha division. Moreover, it was almost killed by the enemy. Ask for help. Ask for help from the headquarters immediately. Ask for help from His Majesty Andre. General Harden felt that he could not hold on any longer. Even if he risked being scolded by Andre, he would definitely ask for help. Yes, sir. The adjutant went down immediately and contacted the headquarters. The screen flashed. Andre's cold face appeared. He sat motionless on the throne, and the eye of the future on his forehead was blinking gently. Andre was using his foresight to deduce the future. From the long river of time, Andre saw countless possibilities. One of them was that he could defeat the Empire and ascend the throne of Xia Xingchen. The prerequisite for this possibility was to kill Xia Xingchen first. Therefore, Andre mobilized the power of all intelligence departments to search for Xia Xingchen's whereabouts. Once Xia Xingchen showed any clues, he would lead his army to rush over at all costs and surround and kill Xia Xingchen. Your Majesty, Seeing Andre's face, all the soldiers of the Nanstar command hurriedly knelt down and saluted. General Harden. Andre opened his eyes, without any emotion in his pupils. I heard that your Nanstar was attacked by the enemy. Your Majesty, a legendary mecha division raided Nanstar. My army can't stand it anymore. General Harden said. Is it Xia Xingchen? Andre asked. No, it's a female mecha master, not very old, probably only in her teens. General Harden said quickly. No need to say more. Andre waved his hand impatiently. Female mecha master, not very old, maybe the child of a wealthy family in the empire. But I'm not interested in any mecha master other than Xia Xingchen. Andre focused all his attention on Xia Xingchen. As for the others, even if Roger, the strongest man in the human race, came in person, he couldn't arouse any interest in Andre. In Andre's eyes, except for Xia Xingchen, everyone else was dust that was not worth mentioning. Your Majesty, if this continues, Nanstar is likely to be lost. General Harden was sweating profusely. Judging from Andre's intention, he was not going to send reinforcement. How could that be possible? It's just an Nanstar. It doesn't matter. Andre said lightly. Qin Yun, this idiot, has fallen into my trap. The Northern Army is about to counterattack, and the troops will head straight for Xia Nanstar. When that happens, Qin Yun won't even be able to cry. Andre relied on the eyes of the future to see Qin Yun's reaction clearly. The Northern Army showed weakness and retreated, which was Andre's strategy. It was to make Qin Yun be overwhelmed by victory, leave the impregnable defense zone of Xia Nanstar, and go to Chang'an Star region to fight the Northern Army. This is a trap. Qin Yun will definitely fall for it. Andre has seen the future of war raging on Xia Nanstar and the destruction of all lives. Chapter 1609 Sword Saint Ellie. Pa. Andre cut off the signal, and the screen went dark. Your Majesty. An old man in a white robe and a long beard came over and stood in front of Andre. He did not kneel, but bowed slightly. The old man was thin, but his eyes were sharp, like a sharp blade. Oh, Senior Ellie. What do you want to teach me? Andre was very respectful to the old man. This old man was the famous Northern Sword Saint Ellie. He was the 4th ranked peak powerhouse on the Galaxy Legend list. He was the strongest mecha master under Andre. Ellie was once Nicholas's swordsmanship teacher, and he also taught Andre swordsmanship. He himself was originally an imperial marquis, with a large fiefdom, and he was also very popular among the people. Andre killed his father, and proclaimed himself emperor, and his position was not legitimate. Many legendary mecha masters were ashamed to be with Andre. However, Sword Saint Ellie surrendered to Andre and swore allegiance to him. Everyone has his own price. Some people love money, some people are lustful, and some people love power. Sword Saint Ellie also has his own price tag, which is lifespan. Ellie has been famous for a long time, and is already 150 years old this year. With the use of gene cloning technology, human lifespan has been greatly extended. Rich and powerful people continue to undergo brain transplants, which can extend their lifespan to 200 years, or even longer. However, brain transplants have extremely strong side effects, ranging from amnesia to becoming an idiot. A proud person like Ellie cannot allow himself to live like an idiot. At the age of 150, Ellie's body has been decayed, and has reached its limit. Andre took advantage of Ellie's weakness. Using the extension of lifespan as a bargaining chip, he made Ellie loyal to himself. Extending lifespan is difficult for human technology. The God's Envoy once developed an ascension potion that can also extend people's lifespan, but the side effects are ridiculous. Not only is it addictive, but it can also alienate people's genes and turn them into snake-like monsters. Even the God's Envoy himself can only hide behind a black robe to cover up his ugly body. However, things that are difficult for humans to do can be easily done by the gods. Andre prayed to the gods to extend Ella's life. Although the gods agreed, Andre also paid a heavy price. At this moment, under Ella's white robe, there is a strong body that is gradually getting younger. Ella's body has rejuvenated, and his personality has become more like when he was younger, aggressive, and lustful. Ella's lust is as world famous as his swordsmanship. 100 years ago, when Ellie was in his prime, I don't know how many women he had harmed. However, in recent years, Ellie has grown old, and is really powerless. His lust has gradually faded, and the outside world's reputation has gradually improved. Your Majesty, Sword Saint Ellie whispered, although the one who attacked Nanstar was not Xia Xingchen, she is also a powerful mecha master. I heard that it was a female mecha master. I want to meet her, defeat her and capture her alive, and solve the trouble of Nanstar by the way. Senior Ellie, are you willing to take action? Andre was slightly stunned, and then laughed, as soon as you heard that it was a female mecha master, and a cute little girl at that. You started to think about that. Ellie said seriously, everyone has a love for beauty. Your Majesty, please don't talk nonsense. Andre smiled and nodded. Senior Ellie will naturally be able to capture the enemy easily if he takes action personally. However, I still want to remind you, if you meet Xia Xingchen, don't fight with him. Notify me immediately. Ellie bowed and said, thank you, Your Majesty. Xia Xingchen? You don't want me to fight with him? Is Andre looking down on me? Ellie didn't agree in his heart. Ellie was used to being a tyrant in the north. His disciples were all over the world, and there were 7 of them in the top 100 of the galaxy legends. Ellie had naturally heard a lot of rumors about Xia Xingchen. The rumors about the Vampire King, the god of destruction, and the big devil were all very outrageous, so Ellie thought that Xia Xingchen was a fraud, and didn't take him seriously at all. Ellie was very confident. He only brought 2 disciples and drove a small spaceship to Nanstar. Ellie's 2 disciples were also famous in the starry sky. One was called Duke and the other was called Elad, who were masters ranked in the top 100 of the galaxy legends. Master, who is the enemy? Is it the rumored Xia Xingchen? Is it worth the 3 of us to take action? In the cabin, Duke was wearing a black leather jacket and was a tall white man. Yes. Elad was thinner, but his eyes were smart, and his mecha was also flexible. It's not Xia Xingchen. It's a legendary little girl. I asked you two to follow me to help me prevent her from escaping. When we get to Nanstar, don't take any action. Just wait and see what your master can do. Ellie sneered. Even if we meet Xia Xingchen, so what? We'll get rid of him by the way. This will save Andre from being suspicious all day long, mumbling Xia Xingchen's name all the time. Those who know the inside story know that he and Xia Xingchen are enemies. Those who don't know think that Andre likes men like his father. Ellie has always spoken recklessly, and he only restrained himself a little when he was with Andre. Yeah. That Xia Xingchen doesn't have any good record. Has he ever defeated any famous person? Almost none. Duke also laughed. I really don't understand why those people brag about him. Just because Xia Xingchen once defeated Andre? This shows that Andre's strength is not that good. Andre's mental power is indeed powerful, but fighting does not rely solely on mental power. Ellie sneered. Master, your swordsmanship is unparalleled in the world. Xia Xingchen must have peed his pants when he heard your name. Elrod flattered Ellie. Above Nanstar, Xia Xingchen's beast god mecha still remained invisible, and he kept an eye on Kirissa's battle below. The battle was coming to an end. There were no decent masters in the northern army of Nanstar. No matter how many troops there were, no one could enter Kirissa's elemental domain. Once they entered, they would burn with the mecha. Therefore, the northern army could only bombard from a distance to stop Kirissa. But the elemental overlord was so fast that Kirissa could easily dodge both the laser beam and the missile. It was only a matter of time before the northern defenders of Nanstar were completely defeated. At this moment, Xia Xingchen suddenly raised his head and looked at the starry sky, muttering, an expert is coming. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1610, Unworthy of Being a Teacher. A small spaceship entered the atmosphere of Nanstar. The hatch under the spaceship opened, and Ellie, Duke, and Elrod, 3 masters and apprentices, flew out of the hatch in their mechas and dived towards the ground. Ellie was driving a juggernaut mecha, which he got from an alien relic when he was young and wandering in the starry sky. It was this juggernaut mecha that made Ellie's life glorious. The juggernaut mecha was silver white with a golden mark on its back, as if it was carrying a golden longsword. A pair of golden sword wings spread out from this mark, which was composed of thousands of narrow golden swords. Under the illumination of the stars, they reflected a dazzling brilliance. The mechas of the two apprentices, Duke and Elrod, were replicas of the juggernaut mecha, and their performance was only 70% of the original, but it was not to be underestimated, and they made a name for themselves in the starry sky. Yeah. Found it. Ellie quickly locked onto Carissa, a smile appeared on his lips, and the Swordmaster mech accelerated suddenly, turning into a golden sword light, flying towards Carissa. Boom. Carissa had just destroyed a Northern Army starship, and flames shot up to the sky beside her. Whoosh. At this moment, a golden shadow cut through the sky, and Ellie drove the Swordmaster mech, and landed in front of Carissa. Ellie's two apprentices also rushed over, and formed a triangle with Ella's position, trapping Carissa in the center, to prevent her from escaping. 3 legends? Carissa frowned slightly. She had already felt a strong mental fluctuation from these 3 mech masters. Obviously, these 3 legends were coming for her. Oh. It's really a female mech master. And she's a fair and tender little girl. I like it. Ellie saw Carissa's little face, and was shocked by her innocent and beautiful face. He was a little absent-minded for a while. She's so young. She's just an underage child. Duke and Elrod were both shocked. Among the legendary mecha masters, women are very rare. Little girls like Carissa are even rarer. Grandpa, are you a mecha master from the north? Carissa looked at the sword master Ellie, whose hair and beard were white, and whose face was full of wrinkles. She remembered what Meredith said, that we should respect the elderly. Therefore, she was very polite to Ellie. Grandpa? Ellie was slightly startled, and said with a smile, little girl, I'm old, but my heart is not old. I see that you are still young and a delicate little beauty. I'm too lazy to fight with you. Surrender quickly and let me train you well. You will definitely be a beauty that confuses people in the future. Ellie didn't care about his identity as a sword master. His words were very vulgar, and he did not hide his obscene intentions. Beauty? Delicate? Little beauty? Carissa stared with her big blue eyes, which were full of confusion. She didn't understand what Ellie said at all. These words seemed to be good words, praising her beauty. However, Clissa instinctively felt that the old man in front of her had a very evil look and expression, and was not a good person. Haha. Do you really not understand, or are you pretending not to understand? It doesn't matter, I just like your pure and ignorant appearance as a girl. It's fun to defy you. Ellie laughed. Old man, shut up. Suddenly, a shout came from the air. A huge dark golden beast-shaped mecha slowly emerged. In the cockpit, Xia Xingchen's forehead was throbbing with veins, and murderous intent surged in his eyes. To be honest, even if he knew that the other party was the famous Northern Sword Saint Ellie, Xia Xingchen did not intend to expose himself. Just like Clissa believed in Xia Xingchen also believed in Clissa. Although Ellie was very famous in the north, and his students were all over the world. However, Xia Xingchen believed that Clissa could defeat Ellie with her strength. But Ellie, the old man, had a lustful look in his eyes, and used obscene words right from the start, clearly teasing Clissa. My apprentice has been insulted by others. If I don't stand up, I'm unworthy of being a teacher. As Carissa's master, Xia Xingchen couldn't help but stand up. Huh, you are. Ellie was stunned and looked at the young man in front of him in surprise. He was very young, less than 30 years old, and his face looked familiar. The most important thing was that Ellie had never noticed the existence of this young man before. A legendary who is good at hiding? Ellie was shocked. This person was not an ordinary person who could hide from his perception. Ah. Xia Xingchen. Duke exclaimed when he saw Xia Xingchen's face. After his apprentice's reminder, Ellie suddenly realized that the young man in front of him was Andrei's old enemy, Xia Xingchen, who had turned the north upside down. Master, I finally met Xia Xingchen. It turns out that Xia Xingchen is the mastermind behind the attack on Nanstar. Duke was surprised, and a look of joy appeared on his face. He said excitedly, let's notify His Majesty Andre immediately. He will definitely reward us greatly. Idiot. Ellie scolded. Don't notify Andre for now. We defeat Xia Xingchen, and take him back alive, and Andre will reward us more. Yes, yes. Duke and Elrod both nodded repeatedly. You two keep an eye on that little girl. Don't let her escape. Ellie said, I will come to meet Xia Xingchen in person. Ellie turned his head, his eyes fell on Xia Xingchen, and said contemptuously, are you Xia Xingchen? I'm Sword Saint Ellie, you should have heard of my name. The famous Sword Saint Ellie, how could I not have heard of it? I just didn't expect that the so-called respected Sword Saint is actually a despicable and lustful person. Xia Xingchen's eyes showed no concealment of disgust. Haha, whatever you say. Ellie laughed. That little girl is your apprentice? You have a good vision. You can get such a beautiful female apprentice. I'm really envious. Ellie, I respect you as a senior and want to spare your life. But you are such a scumbag. You don't deserve to live. Xia Xingchen was furious. His eyes were red. Xia Xingchen had experienced many storms, and his mentality was as deep as the sea. No matter how the enemy insulted him, he could remain calm. But Xia Xingchen realized at this time that his practice was not good enough. If Ellie insulted him, he would just laugh it off. But Ellie kept insulting Carissa. Xia Xingchen really couldn't swallow this breath, and his anger burned in his heart. Young man. Arrogant. I advise you to surrender quickly. I will send you to His Majesty and let him deal with you. Otherwise, I will kill you in front of your apprentice. She will have nightmares for a while. Ellie laughed strangely. Stop talking nonsense. Let's fight. Xia Xingchen clenched his hands, and colorful wings condensed behind the beast god mech. You are indeed a junior. When I provoked you, your mind was shaken. You lost your composure and revealed your flaws. Ellie showed a happy expression, and a golden two-handed sword condensed in the hands of the Sword Saint Mech, and suddenly slashed towards Xia Xingchen. Chapter 16:11 Real Domain. Swish. This sword moved the wind and clouds, carrying an extremely terrifying energy, shattering the void, and the silver sword light stretched for 1,000 meters, slashing down obliquely towards the beast god Mecha. Starry Sky Barrier. Although Xia Xingchen despised Ella's character, he still respected his strength, and did not dare to neglect it. He first sprinkled a ray of starlight to transform into a starry sky barrier, trying to weaken the power of Ella's move. Mental power barrier? Useless. Ellie showed a sneer at the corner of his mouth. Swish. The silver sword light was not hindered at all, and directly passed through the starry sky barrier, and slashed towards the beast god Mecha with the force of thunder. My starry sky barrier was cut open. Xia Xingchen was slightly stunned when he saw this scene. No, it's not cut open. It's directly passed through. Xia Xingchen was very confident in the protective ability of the starry sky barrier. With the improvement of Xia Xingchen's mental power, the starry sky barrier can now withstand the bombardment of the main guns of large starships. However, Ella's sword moves were very strange, and he only passed through the starry sky barrier. Elemental shield. Xia Xingchen frowned and stepped on the power pedal. But the beast god Mecha burst into 4-color light, and the elemental energy surged around the Mecha, and finally turned into substance, forming a layer of 4-color armor. This is the elemental shield created by Xia Xingchen using the creation skill, after he comprehended the mystery of the element. The elemental shield is essentially a layer of energy shield, and its protective ability is even higher than the starry sky barrier. When the beast god Mecha condenses the elemental shield, it is enough to withstand the main gun bombardment of the space carrier. However, the energy and mental power consumed by this move are very amazing. Even Xia Xingchen can't keep the shield for a long time. Xia Xingchen thought his defense was foolproof. However, swish. This silver sword light actually penetrated the elemental shield and slashed fiercely on the body of the beast god Mecha. Boom. The huge body of the beast god Mecha fell from mid-air. In the cockpit, red light flashed, and the alarm sounded piercing. Xia Xingchen's forehead was full of blood, which flowed into his eyes, turning the front into a sea of red blood. Get up. Xia Xingchen shouted, desperately pushing the joystick. The beast god Mech was less than 100 meters from the ground, barely stabilizing its body. After stagnating for a few seconds, it soared into the sky again. Back in the air, Xia Xingchen's face was covered with blood, and his whole body was soaked with sweat. The screen showed that the beast god Mech was damaged by more than 60%. From the right shoulder to the left waist, there was a huge scar that was 100 meters long and 3 meters deep. Blue electric sparks flashed at the scar, and countless circuits were damaged. However, the beast god mech inherited the powerful recovery ability of the Azure Dragon mech. The scar was recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the damage ratio was slowly rising. Master! Carissa exclaimed, trying to rush towards Xia Xingchen. Carissa, I'm fine. Be careful, that Ella's two apprentices will attack you from behind. Xia Xingchen took a deep breath, steadied his mind, and the beast god mech slowly rose and returned to Ella's front. Okay, Master, be careful. Seeing that Xia Xingchen was fine, Carissa felt relieved. Your mecha's defense is pretty good. It can withstand the full force of the Sword Saint mecha. However, your mecha control level is too poor. Ellie said sarcastically, his eyes full of contempt. I was careless just now. Xia Xingchen nodded. Since the four saints merged and Xia Xingchen got the beast god mecha, he has never caused such serious damage to the beast god mecha. Even in the battle between Xia Xingchen and Andre, he won by crushing. Of course, Andre almost exhausted his mental power in order to open the 9 doors, which is also a key factor. Although Xia Xingchen is mature for a young age, he is not yet 30 years old after all, and his state of mind is not stable enough. Especially after Xia Xingchen entered the Universal Civilization Network and saw the celestial world, he was a little complacent, thinking that he had no rivals in the Milky Way except the Celestials. Arrogant soldiers will be defeated. Moreover, care leads to confusion. Xia Xingchen was too concerned about Carissa and was indeed disturbed by Ellie, which was why he lost. Ellie's extremely sharp sword attack also made Xia Xingchen completely sober. Open the omniscience domain. Xia Xingchen no longer underestimated the enemy and immediately launched the omniscience domain. Sure enough, the old man Ellie has already launched the domain. The move just now was not an ordinary sword move, but a domain attack. His domain attack can actually penetrate the mental and energy barriers and directly attack the mecha body, Xia Xingchen said. Legendary mechas generally have 3 layers of defense: mental shield, energy shield, and mecha outer armor. Some mechas are equipped with sun gold armor or mental power coating to further enhance their defense. However, Ellie's attack directly bypassed the first 2 defenses and attacked the armor directly. If it weren't for the outer heavy armor of the beast god mecha inherited from the black tortoise mecha, I'm afraid Xia Xingchen would have been destroyed and killed in the previous attack. Discovered? It doesn't matter. Ellie sneered. Your mecha can survive one move in my real domain. You are proud enough. Real domain. The highest form of the mind's eye? Xia Xingchen was shocked. Xia Xingchen once heard the martial arts master Lester say that when martial arts are practiced to the highest level, they can also comprehend the domain and become legends. This is the so-called martial arts into the Tao. Martial arts and mental power, practiced to the end, different paths lead to the same destination. However, in the current universe era, science is flourishing, mental power practice is prevalent, martial arts practice is mostly used as a way to improve mental power, and there are very few people who focus on martial arts practice. Those who can truly be called martial arts masters and enter the Tao through martial arts are even rarer. The Northern Sword Saint Ellie is one of the best. Martial arts practiced to a very high level, such as Miyamoto Kenichi, will master the mind's eye. In this state, the warrior will feel that the flow of time is slowing down. Staying in the state of the mind's eye, Miyamoto Kenichi can cut bullets with a knife and deflect lasers with a laser sword. After becoming a legend, the mind's eye will further evolve and may become the real domain. The real domain is an extremely practical combat domain. In the real domain, any attack can ignore the mental power and energy shield and directly attack the mecha body. I already know your tricks. Since I can't defend, I just need to avoid being hit by your attack. A smile appeared on Xia Xingchen's face. Not being hit by my attack. Just you? Ellie sneered. In the starry sky, no one can dodge my sword moves. Swish. Ellie attacked again. The golden sword was terrifying, and sword beams flew out. Wherever it passed, the space shattered, and dense cracks like spider webs appeared. Chapter 16:12. Killing the Sword Master. Sword Saint Ellie attacked again, and the golden sword light was more fierce than the previous one. Swish. A sword light cut through the sky. The figure of the beast god mecha flashed and dodged easily. What? Dodged? Ellie was shocked. Xia Xingchen's mecha was so fast that he couldn't even observe it with his eyes. He could only see a series of phantoms. Your strength is just so-so. Xia Xingchen smiled lightly with a relaxed expression. The speed panel of the Beast God Mecha is also top-notch. It must be said that Li entered the Tao with martial arts, and his martial arts cultivation reached the legendary realm, and his swordsmanship was divine. Ordinary mecha masters would find it difficult to deal with Li's sharp sword light and the real domain. However, Xia Xingchen is not an ordinary mecha master. Although Xia Xingchen's attainments in martial arts are not as good as Li's. However, one thing leads to another, and martial arts and spiritual power cultivation are different paths to the same goal. Under the coverage of the omniscient domain, Xia Xingchen saw Li's sword moves clearly. The sword moves were clearly seen, and with the speed of the Beast God Mech and Xia Xingchen's superb mech driving skills, it was naturally easy to dodge. Impossible. Li had just boasted that no one could dodge his sword moves, but Xia Xingchen easily dodged them. Such a slap in the face made his old face red and ashamed. Swish, swish, swish. Li went crazy, and the golden sword in the hands of the sword saint Mech kept waving, and the sword light flew towards the Beast God Mech like a storm. The Beast God Mech was huge, and according to common sense, it should be easy to be hit. However, under Xia Xingchen's control, the Beast God Mech was as agile and light as a butterfly. The giant mech, hundreds of meters long, and like a mountain, was like a butterfly, shuttling through the sword light. This scene made the Imperial prisoners on the ground stunned, their eyes wide open and their mouths wide open. Xia Xingchen. It's Xia Xingchen. So that little girl is Xia Xingchen's apprentice. He still values feelings, and hasn't forgotten us. He risked his life to save us. How did Xia Xingchen become so strong now? What happened to him during this period? He has been completely transformed. He is still able to handle the crazy attack of Sword Saint Li with ease. Among the prisoners, there were the guardian knights of Princess Xingyu and Princess Yu, and some nobles from the upper class of the empire. They had seen Xia Xingchen in person and naturally recognized him. They were all shocked. Xia Xingchen. Yao Yuan clenched his hands tightly, and veins on his arms popped up. He and Xia Xingchen used to be colleagues, and had some friendship. Now seeing Xia Xingchen suddenly appear over and star, it was clear that he came to save him. His excited mind went blank, and he couldn't speak for a long time. What the hell? Li's crazy attack consumed a lot of mental power, and at this moment, less than 30% of his mental power was left. But Xia Xingchen was unscathed. What? No strength left. Since you won't attack, let me do it. Xia Xingchen smiled coldly. Duke, Elrod, don't worry about that little girl. You two come and help me, form a sword formation, and fight Xia Xingchen together. Li had already realized that he was no match for Xia Xingchen. At this moment, he didn't care about the dignity of the sword master, and called two apprentices, ready to join forces with the three of them to bully the weak with the many. Master, this little girl is too powerful, we can't hold on any longer. Master, come and save us. While Li was asking his apprentice for help, Duke and Elrod were also shouting in the channel, asking Li for help. You two trash. How can you not even beat a little girl? Li was furious. Li was fighting with Xia Xingchen just now, concentrating on it, and didn't notice the situation on the two apprentices' side at all. In Li's view, Duke and Elrod were both legendary mecha masters who had been famous in the starry sky for a long time. No matter how powerful Xia Xingchen's female apprentice is, she is just a little girl. How can she not win? Li focused on the battlefield of his two apprentices and was stunned. Boom. The elemental master mecha turned into a ball of light. Flames, frost, thunder, and whirlwinds surrounded the mecha. The four energies collided with each other, making a deafening explosion. The momentum was amazing. Kiris's attack was like a raging wave, hitting Duke and Elrod wave after wave. Li's face turned pale. Such a terrifying attack, let alone his two apprentices, even he might not be able to withstand it. Master, come and save us. Duke and Elrod looked at their master with red eyes and despair. However, Li not only did not go to rescue, but retreated hundreds of meters, fearing that he would be affected by Kiris's elemental torrent. Master, we have always respected you, but you actually watched us die without saving us. Duke and Elrod were completely desperate. Boom. The elemental torrent surged, engulfing the two figures. Before they died, Duke and the other two were still cursing Sword Saint Ellie loudly. Ellie watched his two apprentices die on the side, his face pale. It's really pathetic for a master to be like this. Xia Xingchen looked at Ellie with even more contempt. If Ellie tried his best to save his two apprentices, Xia Xingchen might still spare his life for the sake of his conscience. After all, there are too few strong human beings like Ellie. Every death is a huge loss for mankind. Xia Xingchen was a little reluctant, but what Ellie did was too despicable. Run. Ellie had no will to fight at this moment, and the Sword Saint Mecha turned into a golden sword light and flew upwards. Whirlpool. Xia Xingchen stretched out his hand, and a huge mental vortex appeared out of thin air, pulling Ellie to the center of the vortex. Spiral open heaven. Xia Xingchen did not give Ellie any chance. The right hand of the beast god mech condensed a dark gold drill with a diameter of 100 meters and a length of 1000 meters, and slammed towards Ellie fiercely. No. Ellie screamed miserably, and along with the Sword Saint Mech, he was torn into pieces by this earth-shattering blow. Ranked 5th on the Galaxy Legend list, Sword Saint Ellie died. HMM. Less than a light year away from Nunstar, in the base camp of the Northern Army, Andre sat on the throne, suddenly opened his eyes, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. Is Ellie dead? Andre saw Ella's future, and he died miserably. This future scene was very vague. He could only see Ellie die, but could not see who killed him. The only one who can kill Ellie is Xia Xingchen. Andre suddenly stood up from the throne, with a hideous smile on his face. Your Majesty. A general stepped forward, knelt in front of Andre, and said anxiously, we just received a distress signal from Senior Ellie. He was ambushed by Xia Xingchen on Nanstar, and 2 of his disciples have died in the battle. The situation is extremely bad. Chapter 16:13. All personnel evacuate. Ellie, this idiot. I clearly warned him that, if he met Xia Xingchen, he should immediately ask me for help, and stay away from him, and don't take the initiative to provoke Xia Xingchen. Unfortunately, Ellie was too arrogant and actually thought he could kill Xia Xingchen. How ridiculous. He died at the hands of Xia Xingchen. All this is Ellie's own fault. But Xia Xingchen, I will never let you escape again. Andre waved his hand and ordered, mobilize all the starships and mechas that can be mobilized. Come with me to Nanstar. Surround and kill Xia Xingchen. Swish. Andre waved his hand, and a huge blood-red mecha emerged and disappeared in an instant. He couldn't wait, and rushed towards the direction of Nanstar. Nanstar. The defenders had been completely defeated. Xia Xingchen and Kirissa drove the mecha and slowly landed in the center of the prisoner of war concentration camp. Xia Xingchen and Kirissa had just flown out of the mecha, and before they landed on the ground, they were surrounded by prisoners. Xingchen how? Xia Xingchen. Thank you for saving us. He is indeed a hero. Seeing is believing. Too strong. Xia Xingchen actually killed Sword Saint Ellie. He is one of the top 5 strongest men on the Galaxy Legend list. His apprentice is also amazing. She is just a little girl, but she was able to kill Ellie's 2 apprentices. The prisoners were all smiling and respectful, looking at Xia Xingchen and Kalissa, thanking them. Xia Xingchen looked normal. He had seen such scenes too many times, and was used to it. Kalissa was the first time to be thanked like this. Her little face was red, and she stuck out her pink little tongue and smiled happily. You praise Kalissa like this. Kalissa will be proud. Xingchen. Yao Yuan squeezed through the crowd, and waved his hands. Captain Yao Yuan. You are here too. Xia Xingchen also saw Yao Yuan. Xia Xingchen had met Yao Yuan several times before, and had a good impression of him. Xingchen. Oh, no. Lord Marquis. Your temperament has changed so much, that I can't recognize you. Yao Yuan looked at Xia Xingchen with shock. Yao Yuan looked at Xia Xingchen from a distance, and felt that he had not changed much. He was still the same as before. But when he got closer, Yao Yuan felt a strong sense of oppression coming from Xia Xingchen, and his legs were a little weak. What a terrifying mental pressure. Yao Yuan's heart trembled. He didn't know that this level of mental pressure was the result of Xia Xingchen's restraint. If Xia Xingchen released the mental pressure, everyone within 1,000 meters would faint. Yao Yuan. Are the other Guardian Knights here? Xia Xingchen asked. All are. Yao Yuan nodded. Well, the situation is urgent now, so I won't reminisce with you for now. You immediately notify the Guardian Knights and ask them to gather the prisoners. Xia Xingchen had an ominous premonition in his heart, and the hairs on his body stood up one by one. This is a sign of danger. If Xia Xingchen guessed correctly, Andre would arrive soon. The prisoners' spaceships and systems were all locked. Most of the starships of the Northern Army were destroyed. Even if they were not destroyed, the ships had codes that prevented the prisoners from using them. Moreover, even if they found a few ships and stuffed 100,000 people in them, they would not be able to fly away from Nanstar. You know, Nanstar is the position of the Northern Army and has been completely blocked. Even flies cannot fly out. Yes, sir. Yao Yuan saluted. He did not hesitate to Xia Xingchen's order and immediately executed it. Resolute and vigorous. This is what an imperial soldier should be like. Xia Xingchen nodded slightly and praised 100,000 people as not a small number. Xia Xingchen's portable space naturally cannot accommodate so many people. There is only one way to save all these 100,000 prisoners. Starfield Arc. Fortunately, when Xia Xingchen was rushing to Nanstar, he anticipated that such a situation might happen and ordered Claude to let the Starfield Arc go to Nanstar to meet him. The Starfield Arc stealth system is very advanced and can shuttle freely on the battlefield. Xia Xingchen looked up at the sky and calculated the time. The Starfield Arc should be arriving soon. 100,000 prisoners were originally concentrated in the prisoner of war camp. With the help of several Guardian Knights such as Yao Yuan, they quickly gathered together. No one was walking around. My lord, we have arrived above Nanstar. Li Huamui contacted Xia Xingchen. Very good. Xia Xingchen nodded. There are 100,000 people. The anti-gravity system is starting. Yes. Li Huamui saluted. Boom. An extremely large space battleship appeared above Nanstar. The huge hull covered the sky and the darkness covered the earth. What a big spaceship. Galaxy. Is this a space carrier? It's even bigger than a space carrier. The prisoners looked up and looked at the star domain arc above their heads, feeling a strong sense of oppression. But the hatch under the star domain arc opened and a blue beam of light was projected on the ground. The people covered by the blue beam of light immediately lost gravity, flew into the sky, and entered the spaceship. 100,000 people flew towards the sky from bottom to top. What a spectacular scene. It was like an upside down storm, and people were like countless raindrops. It took less than 30 minutes to accommodate 100,000 people. The original crew of the Star Domain Arc was just over 100,000 people. However, there were still many cabins that were idle. It was more than enough to temporarily accommodate these 100,000 people. However, the Star Domain Arc had too many secrets, and these prisoners were restricted to special areas and could not walk around freely in the spacecraft. After all the prisoners entered the Star Domain Arc, Xia Xingchen and Kirissa drove the mecha back to the Star Domain Arc. Xia Xingchen had just entered the Star Domain Arc when a blood-colored mecha appeared over Nanstar. The mecha master was Andre. Huh? Is this Xia Xingchen's spaceship? Andre was slightly stunned when he saw the Star Domain Arc. Andre is here. He came so fast. Xia Xingchen raised his eyebrows and he felt Andre's mental fluctuations. It's you, Andre. Xia Xingchen walked to the porthole and saw Andre driving a blood-colored mecha at a high speed not far away. Xia Xingchen, you coward. If you have the guts, don't run away. Fight me for 300 rounds. Andre shouted as he chased. Do you think I'm stupid? Xia Xingchen laughed, not being fooled by Andre at all. Your fleet will be here soon. When that time comes, it will be difficult for me to leave. Coward. Coward. Andre shouted hoarsely with a look of exasperation. Xia Xingchen was unmoved, standing in front of the porthole, gently waving at Andre, and his figure was getting farther and farther away. No matter how fast the mecha is, it can never be compared with a spaceship, let alone the Star Domain Arc, a top super spaceship in the universe. Andre tried his best to catch up, but he could not catch up with the Star Domain Arc. He is the Emperor Andre of the North. Is there something wrong with his brain? He actually drives a mecha to chase the starship? How is it possible to catch up? It is worthwhile to be chased by the Emperor of the North. He is still chasing. He is so persistent. On the star domain arc, the crew members and prisoners looked out the porthole and laughed at Andrei's embarrassed look as he was chasing the starship in a rage. Chapter 1614 Rescue Princess Yu. Damn it. Andrei watched the star domain arc fly farther and farther away. Seeing that Xia Xingchen was about to escape from his hands again, he was so angry that his teeth itched, but there was nothing he could do. All northern starships listen to my order. I'm the Emperor of the North. All starships near Nan Star, no matter how big or small, rush to Nan Star to intercept Xia Xingchen. Anyone who can stop Xia Xingchen will be immediately knighted. Andrei was furious and shouted in the public channel. Your Majesty promised it personally? Directly knighted. Your Majesty is so generous. Xia Xingchen is actually on Nan Star. It's not far from my defense zone. Suddenly, the entire northern army was boiling. There must be brave men under a big reward. Countless starships of all sizes gathered together, trying to intercept the star domain arc. Sir, there are too many enemies ahead. In addition to large starships, there are actually some small starships, and even civilian private spaceships. Claude frowned, with anger on his face. All kinds of cats and dogs have come out. This clearly shows that they don't take us seriously. Sir, should we fight back and show them some color? The firepower of the star domain arc is extremely fierce. The power of the main gun is equivalent to that of a star destroyer. When fired at full power, it can shatter a planet. If the star domain arc opens fire at this time, thousands of starships will be hit and turned into ashes in an instant. These people are eager to make contributions, and for a moment they forget the horror of Xia Xingchen. They huddle together densely and fly towards the direction of the star domain arc. Forget it. Xia Xingchen waved his hands and said, I don't have time to waste with them. Don't forget that Andrei has the backing of the gods behind him. God knows what kind of trump card he has hidden. Besides, we are escaping so brazenly under Andrei's nose. Andrei will probably be furious. If you want to kill someone, you must first kill their heart. This is the heartbreaking move. That's right. Claude also laughed. It's really gratifying to see Andrei's furious look. Well, jump directly and leave the battlefield. Xia Xingchen ordered. Swish. The star domain arc suddenly accelerated, turned into a white lightning, and instantly entered the subspace and disappeared from the starry sky. In the starry sky, only the starships of the Northern Army were left, and the crew and Mecha division stared at each other. Xia Xingchen just escaped like this? They still couldn't believe it. Waste. Waste. All of them are waste. Andrei's eyes were red, blood vessels on his face bulged, and his right hand covered his chest, as if a heavy stone was stuck there. Frustrated. It was really too frustrating. Andrei had never been so frustrating. The 2 times Andrei was killed by Xia Xingchen before, it was at least a fair fight. But this time, Xia Xingchen was a naked humiliation. And he humiliated Andrei, the supreme emperor of their northern empire, in front of all the northern army soldiers. If Andrei was not in his prime and his spiritual cultivation was ridiculously high, he would have vomited blood in anger after being humiliated so severely. Your Majesty, Xia Xingchen was as timid as a mouse, and he didn't dare to face your Majesty, so he fled in a hurry. A general whispered. Get lost. Andrei glared at the general fiercely. If it weren't for the fact that killing a general in battle would really hit the morale of the army, Andrei really wanted to kill this blind general on the spot. This general who flattered the horse's hoof didn't know that he had already walked around the gates of hell. But he was not stupid. Seeing that Andrei was in a very bad mood, he quickly shut up and didn't dare to say more. Pass my order. All the northern army. All the troops attack. Attack the Imperial army. Andrei took a breath and shouted loudly. Andrei was too angry and needed to vent. And the best way to vent was to kill. Andrei wanted to kill Xia Xingchen the most. Unfortunately, Xia Xingchen escaped too fast. So Andrei had to start with the Imperial army. The war has begun. The full-scale war has finally begun. The soldiers of the Northern Army were shocked when they heard Andrei's order. They have been waiting for this war for a long time. Suddenly, the whole starry sky was filled with roars of cheers. At this moment, Qin Yun was leading the Imperial fleet to rush over and was setting up a defense line. He didn't know that the final battle had already started. Whoosh! The star domain arc shuttled through the subspace. In the conference room, Yao Yuan and a dozen guardian knights were all sitting upright, with excited expressions, waiting for Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen pushed the door open, stood on the conference table and looked around, and said with a smile, "I just went to deal with some trivial matters. I kept you waiting for a long time." Yao Yuan and others stood up quickly and said, "My lord Marquis." "Yes. Yao Yuan, you contacted me so anxiously, saying that there is important information?" Xia Xingchen looked at Yao Yuan. This meeting was not arranged by Xia Xingchen. It was Yao Yuan who was anxious, and said that there was important information. Therefore, Xia Xingchen hurried over without taking a rest. "My lord, it's not me. It's this Baron Simpson." Yao Yuan stood up, and pointed at a tall bald white man. The white man had a red beard all over his face, and looked very tough. He stood up quickly, bowed to Xia Xingchen, and whispered, "My lord, I'm Simpson, Princess Yu's guardian knight. Both princesses crossing and you have guardian knights. Princess Yu has more guardian knights than Kinjana." Xia Xingchen had never met Simpson before, so she nodded slightly, and motioned him to continue. "I won't beat around the bush. Princess Yu is under house arrest by Kinyan, and our guardian knights have been trying to find out where the princess is. Hard work pays off, and I finally found out where Princess Yu is imprisoned." Simpson said. "Do you know where Princess Yu is imprisoned?" Xia Xingchen was slightly startled, and a look of joy appeared on his face. Princess Yu was under house arrest by Kinyan under the pretext of imprisonment, and no one knew where she was imprisoned. This was a concern for Xia Xingchen, and it was also something Kinjana had been thinking about. Xia Xingchen had promised Kinjana that he would definitely rescue his sister. However, Xia Xingchen used a lot of connections and intelligence departments, but he could not find out where Princess Yu was imprisoned. It can be seen that Kinyan values Princess Yu very much. This is also Kinyan's trump card. When he has to, he will use Princess Yu to threaten Xia Xingchen. This is also an important reason why Xia Xingchen has not attacked Xia Star. That's right. I had just found out some clues when I was caught by Kinyan's men. They tortured me severely, but I didn't reveal a word. Therefore, Princess Yu is very likely still in the same place. Simpson said, "The princess is imprisoned on the Xia satellite number 7. Xia satellite number 7. Xia Xingchen said in surprise. Xia Star has a total of 9 satellites of different sizes, revolving around the planet. Satellite number 7 is one of them, and it is deserted. The princess is actually imprisoned on this satellite. Moreover, this satellite is too close to Xia Star." Simpson nodded. "This is the darkest place under the lamp. The most dangerous place is the safest place. Before I got this information, I didn't think of it. The princess is imprisoned not far from Xia Star." Xia Xingchen waved his hand and said, "Let's start rescuing Princess Yu immediately. This matter cannot be delayed." Chapter 16-15 Secret Palace. The final battle between the Northern Army and the Imperial Army was fought at the junction of the Chang'an Star region and the Xia Star region. Both sides dispatched countless starships and mechas, and fought in the starry sky with all their strength. The battle burst into dazzling light, as if a supernova exploded, illuminating the entire starry sky. Even at a distance of several light years, the flashes of light in the starry sky could still be clearly observed. In this battle, Andre led the way, fought in person, and killed like crazy. The Emperor personally went to the battle, and the morale of the Northern Army naturally soared. On the Imperial Army side, Kinyan made another wrong decision. It didn't take long for the balance of victory to tilt towards the Northern Army. Kinyan saw that the momentum was not good, so he fled back to Xia Star one step ahead. The Supreme Commander fled quietly, which had a great impact on the morale of the Imperial Army. It didn't take long for the Imperial Army to begin to collapse across the board. The generals all fled first, wanting to return to Xia Star and rely on the fortifications around Xia Star to block the Northern Army's front. This battle lasted for 60 days, with countless casualties, and finally the Imperial Army was defeated again. Andre led his troops to attack the Xia Star field again, and the troops headed straight for the Imperial capital, Xia Star. Xia Star, the Imperial Palace. Kinyan's eyes were red, and there were wine bottles around him. With the Northern Army approaching, Kinyan could only relieve the pressure by drinking. Beside Qin Yan, the trusted generals all stood with their heads down, dejected. This great defeat destroyed their morale. Waste, all a bunch of waste. Qin Yan's eyes were red, his mouth was full of alcohol, and he pointed at the generals' noses and cursed. What's the use of you? Obviously, you have more troops than Andre, and your weapons and equipment are better than the North. In the end, you still suffered a great defeat. You keep saying that you are loyal to the country, but you are all cowards, and finally you all fled back from the battlefield. The generals were silent. After a long time, a general bravely said, "Your Highness, it's not that our army is incompetent. It's just that Andre is too terrifying. He drives a strange blood-colored mecha alone, galloping across the battlefield, as if there is no one. Just talking about the starships destroyed by him, there are thousands of them. There are tens of thousands of mechas destroyed by him. Is he still a human? He is simply a devil." Qin Yan said angrily, "At what time have you grown others' ambitions, and destroyed your own prestige? Andre is a quasi-celestial being, how can he not be strong? The question is, what should we do now? What method can we come up with to defeat Andre? Your Highness, this is the problem. Andre is too arrogant, and went to the battlefield in person. If we can find a way to kill Andre, then the morale of the Northern Army will surely collapse. The situation will be reversed immediately. The Empire will be saved. The problem is, who can fight Andre? Among the thousands of troops, take his head." The general said, "Originally, we still had the Angel of Light Michael, but he died on Earth at the hands of Xia Xingchen. Although the Empire is large, there is no decent master who can fight Andre. That old guy Michael is no good. He is no match for Andre." Qin Yan waved his hand in annoyance. "Besides, Michael died a long time ago. What's the point of talking about him? Your Highness, there is someone who can definitely kill Andre." An aide rolled his eyes and stepped forward and said, "Who? Tell me." Qin Yan showed a happy expression and urged, "Xia Xingchen." The aide said a name. "Nonsense. Of course I know Xia Xingchen can kill Andre. The problem is, how can he, a traitor, help us?" Qin Yan's face suddenly darkened. "Your Highness, how could you forget? We still have Princess Yu in our hands. Xia Xingchen is a person who values feelings very much. If we threaten him with Princess Yu, are we afraid that he will not give in?" The staff laughed sinisterly. "Great. What a great idea." Qin Yan's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly said, "Let's do it. I will immediately send someone to the 7th satellite to bring Princess Yu back, and use her to threaten Xia Xingchen. Shiny and Star, the 7th satellite. This is a desolate little planet. There is a huge round glass building on the surface of the planet, and inside is a magnificent palace. This is the secret palace of the Emperor of the Galactic Empire, and Princess Yu is imprisoned in this palace. Sister." Princess Yu was wearing a white dress, and her eyebrows were about 70% similar to Qin Jaina, but more sexy and mature. At this moment, she stood on the attic of the palace, looking up at the starry sky, and whispering Qin Jaina's name. During the years of house arrest, Princess Yu suffered a lot. Countless times, Princess Yu wanted to die, to avoid being humiliated by Qin Yan. However, every time Princess Yu wanted to commit suicide, her sister's smiling face appeared in her mind. Her sister was Princess Yu's only hope to survive, and her only spiritual support. But, the door of the attic opened. There was a noisy sound of footsteps on the stairs. Princess Yu hurriedly opened the drawer, took out a silver fork from it, and held it tightly in her palm. Princess Yu herself felt very ridiculous. In the era of starships and mechas, her only self-defense weapon was just a small fork. "Your Highness." A blonde man led a team of soldiers with live ammunition to the attic, and stood in front of Princess Yu. His handsome face did not hide a sarcastic smile. "It's you, General Troy, Qin Yan's #1 lackey." Princess Yu saw the blonde man in front of her, and her chest rose and fell violently. It was this man who imprisoned her, and sent her to the 7th satellite for house arrest, living a life that was neither human nor ghost. "Congratulations, Princess. The regent has decided to lift your house arrest and let you return to Shiny and Star," Troy said with a smile. "Is Qin Yan so good?" Princess Yu looked unconvinced. "Princess, you may not know yet. The Imperial army was defeated, and the Northern army is approaching, and will attack Shiny and Star soon. Andre is a very terrifying man. Invincible in the starry sky. Only one person can compete with him. That is your brother-in-law Xia Xingchen. His Highness wants you to go back and persuade Xia Xingchen to kill Andre on the battlefield and save the empire. By then, you and Xia Xingchen will both be great contributors. Troy said. What? The Imperial army was defeated. Princess Yu was a little flustered when she heard the news. That's right. Princess. Please put aside your prejudice against the regent. Shoulder the responsibility of saving the empire. Troy said seriously. Troy, do you think I'm a 3-year-old child? Princess Yu suddenly laughed softly, but her smile gradually turned cold and finally turned into boundless anger. I've been fooled once. That time, I almost killed my own sister. I swore long ago that I would never believe Qin Yun's lies. No matter how much you say, I won't believe a word. Please go back. I will stay on this desolate satellite and not go anywhere. Chapter 16:16 Qin Yun's End. Not going? Troy saw that Princess Yu was not cooperating, so he tore off his hypocritical mask, showed a grim smile on his face, waved his hand, and said to the soldiers behind him, knock her out and take her back. Be a little gentle, she is the princess of the empire. As you command. The two soldiers nodded, stepped forward with guns, and approached Princess Yu. Don't come over. Princess Yu was forced into a corner. She showed the fork in her hand and gestured randomly. Ha ha ha. Am I seeing things? Fork? Who can be hurt by such a weapon? Troy laughed. Princess, you said you are not a 3-year-old child? But in my opinion, there is no difference between you and a 3-year-old child. Oh, of course, you are more mature, more sexy, and more feminine. Haha. The soldiers all laughed. I know it can't hurt you, but it can hurt me. Princess Yu suddenly turned the fork around and put it in front of her throat. The silver fork was polished to a gleaming shine. A drop of blood came out of Princess Yu's throat and slowly slid down her fair neck. Along with the blood, her crystal tears also slid down. Princess Yu was already in tears, sobbing softly. Jaina, I'm sorry. It's a pity that I can't see you for the last time. Even if I die, I would rather not be Qin Yun's pawn. He uses me to threaten Xia Xingchen. I'm not a burden. I'm the Princess Yu of the Galactic Empire. Your Highness. Don't be impulsive. Everything can be discussed. Troy saw the determination to die in Princess Yu's eyes and knew that she was not joking, but really determined to commit suicide. He panicked and his face turned pale. Discuss. There is no room for negotiation. Princess Yu shook her head sadly and stabbed the fork in her hand towards her throat fiercely. But the silver fork suddenly became uncontrollable, broke free from Princess Yu's hand, and stabbed into the ceiling. A telepath. Princess Yu looked desperate, sitting on the ground with dull eyes, muttering, why are you so cruel? You can't let me die with dignity. Troy breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that a soldier with a superpower had stopped Princess Yu from committing suicide. He personally stepped forward, ready to knock Princess Yu unconscious and take her away. But the fork on the ceiling suddenly flew down, drew a strange arc in the air, and directly nailed Troy's throat. Gaga. Troy's throat was fixed with the silver fork, making a strange sound, his face full of disbelief, and he fell down in front of Princess Yu, and there was no sound anymore. As Troy fell to the ground, the soldiers behind him also fainted one after another. In the entire attic, Princess Yu was the only one who was conscious. What happened? Princess Yu looked confused. At this time, she saw a familiar figure walking up the stairs and standing in front of her. Thin body, black eyes, and a smile as bright as the sun. Xia Xingchen. Xingchen. Is it really you? I'm not dreaming. Princess Yu stretched out her hand towards Xia Xingchen, her fingertips trembling. At this moment, Princess Yu had seen it countless times in her dreams. Every time she woke up, Princess Yu felt endless loss. She shook her head and smiled bitterly more than once, whispering, how is it possible? Your Highness, this is not a dream. Xia Xingchen looked apologetic, grabbed Princess Yu's hand, and helped her up. I should have come to save you a long time ago, but I have been dragging it on until now. You must have suffered a lot. It's really not a dream. Princess Yu saw her guardian knights rushing up behind Xia Xingchen one by one, and felt Xia Xingchen's body temperature, and then she was sure that she was really saved. Don't call me your Highness. Call me sister. Princess Yu had never felt so happy before and smiled and said to Xia Xingchen, where is Jaina? Is she okay? Sister, Jaina is fine. Xia Xingchen smiled. I will take you away from here first and then notify Jaina so that you two sisters can meet. Okay. Princess Yu nodded and walked out of the palace under the protection of Xia Xingchen and the guardian knights. Guards and soldiers lying on the ground can be seen everywhere in the palace. Are they alive? Princess Yu asked softly. Except for the one named Troy, the rest are alive. They fainted temporarily due to my mental shock. Xia Xingchen explained. It's good that they are alive. Princess Yu breathed a sigh of relief. They are just soldiers, following orders. And those guards, although they restricted my freedom, they have always taken care of my food and daily life. Princess Yu is really kind. Xia Xingchen sighed in his heart. Shiny Yangxing Palace. What? Troy's mission failed. Princess Yu was rescued by Xia Xingchen? Qin Yun was so excited when he heard the news that he jumped up. Waste. What a waste. He can't even handle such a small matter. What about Trojan? I will punish him severely. Qin Yun said angrily. Your Highness. Troy has died in Xia Xingchen's hands. A staff member whispered. Dead. What a waste. Waste, Qin Yun cursed and sat back on the sofa. After being stunned for a moment, he actually burst into tears. Princess Yu is Qin Yun's last hope. Only by capturing Princess Yu, Qin Yun could use Princess Yu to threaten Xia Xingchen and let Xia Xingchen deal with Andre. Now, the last flame of hope was extinguished. Qin Yun was shrouded in despair and on the verge of collapse. It's over. It's all over. The empire is over. Everything is over. Qin Yun cried and laughed, suddenly stood up and ran out of the palace. Your Highness. A general hurriedly chased after him and threw Qin Yun to the ground. Qin Yun was still crying and laughing with a crazy expression. The generals did not dare to neglect it and quickly called the doctor to diagnose Qin Yun. The regent is crazy. After the doctor examined him, he shook his head. He is really crazy. We can only inject sedatives to calm him down first. As for whether his condition can improve and when it will improve, I can't say. Andre's army is about to attack and the regent is crazy at this juncture. The generals were all stunned. They discussed and decided to temporarily block the news. If the news that Qin Yun has gone crazy gets out, the imperial army's already shaky morale will completely collapse. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 16-17, Destroying a Country and Killing a Planet. Andre led the Northern Starship Army, crushing the enemy all the way, marching straight into the Milky Way Empire's 1,000-year-old capital, Shianyu Star. Boom boom boom. The vanguard of the Northern Army has arrived at the starfield near Shianyu Star and exchanged fire with the Imperial Royal Guard. The war was raging, and on Shianyu Star, you can see the mechas of both sides fighting fiercely in the starry sky. From time to time, burning starships and mecha wreckage fell from the sky. The fire spread everywhere, and the shrill screams of fire alarms were everywhere. The originally bustling streets were now empty, without a single pedestrian, and the entire planet had entered a state of martial law. All residents sit in their homes, whether they were believers or atheists. They were praying at this moment, hoping that a miracle would happen. However, the Empire's defeat had long been doomed, and Andre slowly deployed troops and the Starship Army that covered the sky and the sun surrounded Shianyu Star, as if waiting for something. The Imperial Palace, the Council of Elders. According to Imperial law, the Council of Elders is an authority that overrides the Emperor. The power of the Council of Elders is very great, and they can even impeach the Emperor and make him abdicate. The members of the Council of Elders are all members of the Qin royal family, and each of them holds the military and political power of the Empire. Qin Yun came to power illegitimately. In order to become the Emperor, he constantly suppressed the Council of Elders in the name of some members of the Council of Elders having an affair with Princess Qin Jaina and murdering the previous Emperor Qin Zhi. Even 3 of the 7 core elders were placed under house arrest by Qin Yun, and the remaining 4 were marginalized and deprived of their rights. The Council of Elders has actually long existed in name only. Now, the starship army of the traitor Andre is at the gates of the city. Regent Qin Yun suddenly became mentally ill. The empire cannot be without a monarch for a day, and the Council of Elders naturally became the highest authority again. Those elders who were under house arrest and marginalized all hurried to the Council of Elders to hold a meeting to discuss countermeasures against Andre. The hundreds of elders and the entire Council of Elders all sat with their heads down, silent, and the atmosphere was so depressing that it made people breathless. After a long time, the great elder Qin Baekseon slowly spoke, "In my opinion, we have only one way to go, to seek peace with Andre. Even if it means living in disgrace, and losing power, and humiliating the country, we must preserve the foundation of the empire. The 1,000-year heritage of the Galactic Empire cannot be destroyed in our hands." What the great elder said is very true. Many elders nodded slowly. Since everyone agrees, let me personally take action. Meet Andre. Ceasefire negotiations. Qin Baekseon sighed. He knew very well that no matter what kind of treaty he signed with Andre, future generations would poke at his spine and curse him, saying that he was a traitor and lost power and humiliated the country. Compared with the foundation of the empire, these insults are nothing. Qin Baekseon shook his head, immediately went to change clothes and take a bath, took 2 bodyguards, and walked into a small spaceship, flying towards the position of the Northern Army. The Northern Army's base camp, the royal flagship. Andre sat on the throne in the middle of the hall, watching Qin Baekseon walk in slowly with his right hand on his chin, his face cold, no emotions could be seen. Is he Andre? Qin Baekseon felt a creepy and terrifying aura from Andre, and his body couldn't stop shaking before he approached. "My Lord Duke." Qin Baekseon gritted his teeth and walked 3 meters in front of Andre, bowed slightly, and his attitude was neither humble nor arrogant. Qin Baekseon did not call Andre His Majesty, but called him Grand Duke. Because from the legal perspective of the empire, Andre could only succeed Nicholas as the Grand Duke of the North. Andre's act of proclaiming himself emperor was to establish himself as a king, which was not officially recognized by the empire. "You unreasonable person. Call me your majesty." A guard beside Andre shouted loudly. Qin Baekseon's lips were tightly pursed, his face was a little pale, and he looked up and looked at Andre. Qin Baekseon was the elder, and even the emperor of the empire had to be respectful when he saw him. Besides, Andre is just a duke. It doesn't matter. Andre waved his hand, looked at Qin Baekseon, and said, "You are the great elder Qin Baekseon? Where is Qin Yunren? Even if he wants to seek peace and truce, he came here in person. Why send you? Can you make the decision?" Qin Baekseon said, "His Highness is ill and has entrusted this matter to me. I can make the decision." Andre nodded gently and said, "Since you are here, let's talk about your conditions." Qin Baekseon said, "The North and the Empire will cease fire. The Northern Army will withdraw from the Xia Xingchen Star region and promise not to attack the Empire within 100 years. The Empire recognizes your title of Grand Duke and will also designate the Chang'an Star region as your fiefdom, and the Empire will pay a huge amount of compensation. We will slowly negotiate the specific amount." In Qin Baekseon's view, his concessions were already huge. Cede land and pay compensation, and the entire Chang'an Star region will be ceded. If the citizens of the empire knew that he had proposed such humiliating conditions, I'm afraid that they would be drowned in spit as soon as they go out. Andre did not answer, but shook his head gently. Are the conditions not good enough? Qin Baekseon was stunned, his eyes narrowed to the size of a needle tip. Does the empire have to recognize your throne? Well, I will go back and discuss with other elders, and we can recognize you as the Emperor of the North. Andre still shook his head. Not enough. Qin Baekseon was stunned and gritted his teeth and said, "We can't let you directly move into Xia Xingchen Star and let us respect you as the Emperor of the Empire. Even if we agree, the people of the Empire will never agree. This is illegal." However, Andre still looked at Qin Baekseon with a smile. "Andre, what do you want?" Qin Baekseon was angry and called Andre's name directly. "Haha, I don't want anything either." Andre smiled, revealing a row of sharp white teeth, and said, "I think it's better to do this. I will lead my army to capture Xia Xingchen Star and massacre the planet for 3 months. No matter nobles or civilians, men, women, young or old, all will be killed. Completely cut off the foundation of the Qin royal family. Then, I will rebuild my palace on the scorched earth of the burned palace, and establish a new empire of my own. Great Elder, how about this idea? Are you crazy? Qin Baekseon trembled all over, looking at Andre in astonishment, feeling that he was not a human being, but a bloodthirsty demon. Crazy? Maybe. Andre waved his hand. I'm a very tolerant person. I will give you 24 hours to prepare. After 24 hours, I will lead my army to attack Xia Star. We surrender. Isn't surrender okay? Qin Baekseon panicked. I'm sorry, I don't accept your surrender. Andre said coldly, Grand Elder, please go back. I always keep my word. I said I would massacre the stars for 3 months, and I won't lose a second. Madman, madman, you are a madman. Qin Baekseon's face flushed, and he cursed loudly, and was dragged out of the cabin by the guards. The young General Vitus walked to Andre, with reluctance on his face, and asked, Your Majesty, do we really want to massacre the stars? And massacre the capital of the empire, Xia Star? This is not a good idea, right? Andre sneered. Not good. I think it's very good. If I don't completely eliminate these old and young members of the Qin royal family, how can I sit firmly on the throne? You go down and prepare. In 24 hours, we will start attacking Xia Star. Chapter 1618. The Battle of Xia Star. Andre issued an ultimatum. In 24 hours, the Northern Army will launch a full-scale attack on Xia Star. Moreover, after the victory, he will massacre everyone on Xia Star. This bad news quickly spread on Xia Star. The already chaotic Xia Star became even more chaotic. Some desperate people rushed into the imperial government agencies, smashing, looting, and burning. Some rich people wanted to drive private spaceships to escape from Xia Star. However, as soon as the spaceship took off, it was intercepted by the Northern Army's mecha, and was hit by a laser, and turned into a fireball in the air. There were wails everywhere in the Imperial Palace and the Elders' Council. Everyone cried loudly, and fell into deep despair. Xia Star Satellite number 7. The Star Domain Arc was in stealth mode, and the entire system remained silent. No one knew that there was a huge spaceship hidden here. In the spaceship conference room, Xia Xingchen and the core members of the Star Domain Arc were meeting to discuss the battle plan. Andre is really crazy. He won't accept the surrender of the Imperial Army, even if he is honored as the Emperor. He must kill the stars. This madman. Keeler was extremely angry, and slammed his fist on the table. The Imperial Army is too useless. I thought it could hold out for a while and let us prepare. Who would have thought that it would be defeated so soon? We are not fully prepared yet. Li Huamei was worried. The soldiers are all incompetent. The generals are all incompetent. Qin Yun is stubborn and self-righteous, jealous of talented people. All the outstanding generals in the Imperial Army have been marginalized by him. The generals who are now in charge of the Imperial Army are all like Qin Yun, who are afraid of death. Claude said angrily with red eyes. Xingchen, what should we do now? How many troops do you have? Princess Yu asked anxiously. As you can see, my army is all on the Star Domain Arc. Xia Xingchen said. Only one spaceship? Princess Yu was stunned. Although your spaceship is huge, it is at most tens of thousands of mecha divisions. This amount of troops is too little in such a large-scale battle. Enough. Xia Xingchen said lightly. Enough to deal with Andre. The key is the heavenly man behind Andre. Forget it. For now, we can only take one step at a time. Xia Xingchen stood up suddenly, and pressed his hands down. In an instant, the conference room was silent. Everyone looked at Xia Xingchen, swallowing nervously, waiting for his order. Continue to wait and see. Or take action to save Xia Star? Save the Empire? Everyone listen up. Although we are wanted by the Empire, abandoned by the Empire, however, we have never forgotten that we are a member of the Galactic Empire, a member of the human race. The flames of war have spread to the capital of the Empire, Xia Star. We have no way out. The only way is to fight. Everyone, organize your equipment and test your mecha. 24 hours later, when the Northern Army attacks Xia Star, that's when we fight. Each of you is a hero. The Empire will always remember your names. Let us fight for our motherland. For humanity. For honor. The veins on Xia Xingchen's forehead bulged, and he waved his right hand excitedly, shouting loudly. For the motherland. For humanity. For honor. The entire star domain arc was filled with roars that shook the starry sky. 24 hours. In the blink of an eye. The Northern Army began to attack on time. The last defenders of Xianyuan Star knew that there was no way out behind them, so they could only fight to the death. As the saying goes, the army of morning will win. At the last moment, the Imperial Army burst out with amazing combat power. Every Imperial soldier fought desperately for the motherland behind him, and for his loved ones. There were even mecha divisions that launched suicide attacks, detonating mechas in the starry sky, turning into mushroom clouds, trying to delay the offensive of the Northern Army. However, the gap in the strength of the two sides was too great, and the difference in the strength of the commanders was also huge. Although the Imperial soldiers were brave, they could not stop the footsteps of the Northern Army. The fierce battle lasted less than an hour, and the outer space was lost. The mechas of the Northern Army had already rushed into the atmosphere of Xianyuan Star. Even some mecha divisions had landed on the ground, attacked large cities, and launched street battles in major cities. It's over. We lost. The Empire is dead. I have tried my best. But the enemy is too strong. Every mecha division of the Empire had to face the siege of 3 to 4 northern mecha divisions. Even if the performance of the Empire's standard mechas was slightly superior, in the face of the absolute disadvantage of the strength, the mecha divisions who fought bloody battles could only feel deep despair. In desperation, the Imperial mecha divisions pressed the red self-destruct button on the console one by one. They would rather self-destruct than become prisoners of the Northern Army. This is the last bit of the Imperial soldiers' backbone. Just when Xianyuan Star was about to be captured, the Imperial Army was defeated on all fronts, and morale was at its lowest point. Swish. A huge starship appeared in the sky above Xianyuan Star. Starfield Arc. Whoosh. 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 Blue light flashed. A large number of mechas were teleported around the Starfield Arc. These mechas were well equipped and advanced in model. Every mecha master exuded a strong mental fluctuation. 100,000 mechas, 100,000 mecha masters. The weakest mecha master among them also had an A-level mental power level. S-level mecha masters could be seen everywhere. There were also hundreds of legendary mecha masters. In addition to human mecha masters, there were also 10,000 Liang clan warriors covered in thick rock armor. The Liang clan had no more than 10,000 people. If there were more than 10,000, they would be invincible in the starry sky. So far, the Liang expeditionary force has never lost a battle. And a huge, dark golden, demon-like mecha stood in front of 100,000 mechas. It was Xia Xingchen's beast god mecha. Everyone, follow me to charge. With Xia Xingchen's roar, he led the way, and the beast god mecha turned into a dark golden flame, and rushed towards the position of the Northern Army. The 100,000 mecha core of the Star Domain Arc also followed Xia Xingchen closely. The mecha divisions were silent, without saying a word, but their eyes were burning with fierce flames of war. There is an enemy ambush. The enemy is attacking our flank. Hold on. Hold on. No. It's not the Imperial Army. It's Xia Xingchen's army. Galaxy above. Xia Xingchen's army. How can it be human? It's a group of monsters. The Northern Army discovered the traces of Xia Xingchen and his army at the first time. But it was too late. Including Andre, all the Northern Army generals did not expect that Xia Xingchen's army had already ambushed near Xianyuan Star, and took advantage of the situation to attack. In an instant, the Northern Army's flank defense line was completely torn apart. In desperation, General Vitus, the commander of this battle, could only shrink the defense line and temporarily withdraw the mecha army that had invaded Xianyuan Star to avoid being attacked from both sides. The scum of the Northern Army, the situation is obviously very good. Why did they suddenly withdraw? Look at the sky. A mecha core attacked the Northern Army from the flank. It actually tore the Northern Army's defense line apart. Which army of the Empire is it? The combat effectiveness is so strong. What's the number? It's not the Imperial Army, it's Xia Xingchen. The Imperial mecha divisions all felt the pressure relieved, looked up at the starry sky in surprise, and their faces were full of surprise. Chapter 1619 Andre goes to battle. Xia Xingchen led an elite mecha corps to attack the Northern Army's position, tearing the Northern Army's front line in an instant. The morale of the Imperial Army had already reached the bottom, but the appearance of Xia Xingchen made the Imperial soldiers see hope again, and ignited their fighting spirit again. It's the Imperial hero Xia Xingchen. The Empire abandoned him, but he did not abandon the Empire. At the most critical moment of the Empire, Xia Xingchen stood up. Xia Xingchen is known as a miracle man, and he is Andre's nemesis. With him, maybe he can really defeat Andre and turn the tide of the war. On Xianyuan Star, both civilians and nobles were talking about it. Xia Xingchen's glorious deeds are well known to everyone on Xianyuan Star. There are also some wealthy families who know a lot of inside information. They know that Princess Crossing and Xia Xingchen were wronged by Qin Yan and framed as traitors and could only be exiled to the Chaos Star region. All members of the Guozhan family, I order you as a patriarch. Support Xia Xingchen at all costs. Our Wu family will also fight. This is the last chance. If Xia Xingchen loses too, we will all die. My son once went to the Gold and Silver Star to participate in the trial of the Star Pirate King Roger. On the Demon Star, thanks to Xia Xingchen's care, he was able to save his life. Both publicly and privately, we must support Xia Xingchen. That's right. My daughter is also Roger's disciple. Our Laura family will also fight. The connections that Xia Xingchen had accumulated played a crucial role at this time. For a time, the wealthy families on Xianyuan Star were all boiling, and they all went to fight. One after another, the Mechas soared into the sky and flew towards the positions of the Northern Army, fighting desperately. However, there were still some families, especially several Imperial armies, who were still sitting still and watching quietly. Qin Yan made great efforts in media propaganda. Many ordinary people were completely brainwashed by Qin Yan and believed that Xia Xingchen was a devil who did nothing wrong. Xia Xingchen teamed up with Princess Crossing to kill Emperor Qin Zhi, which caused the Galaxy Empire to fall into civil strife. In the eyes of some people, Xia Xingchen's war with the Northern Army was a dog-eat-dog fight. No matter which side wins, it is not a good thing. Wait. Anyway, they are all traitors. It's better to fight to the point of mutual destruction. That's right. Xia Xingchen is even more hateful than Andre. Andre grew up in the north, but the Empire treated Xia Xingchen well. But this kid is ungrateful. Some generals were deceived and gnashed their teeth when they heard Xia Xingchen's name. Huh. Is this all the troops on Xianyuan Star? Xia Xingchen frowned slightly. Although there are many mechas flying out of Xianyuan Star, most of them are customized mechas of the family. Although the performance of customized mechas is better, but each family is fighting on its own and cannot form an effective attack. Boss, your reputation on Xianyuan Star is terrible. Keeler followed Xia Xingchen closely to protect his safety. Notify Lihu Army. Act according to the original plan. Xia Xingchen had actually expected this and had developed a response plan. In the Star Domain arc, Lihu Army received the signal from Xia Xingchen. She immediately stood up, walked to the room where Princess Yu was resting, walked in, bowed and said, "Your Highness, it's time for you to appear." Princess Yu had already put on her macup, nodded slightly, and followed Li Huami to the bridge. Li Huami aimed a holographic projection device at Princess Yu. Swish! A blue light shot out and projected onto Princess Yu's upper body. At the same time, a huge holographic image of Princess Yu appeared in the sky of Xianyuan Star. Ah! It's Your Highness the Princess. Princess Yu. Didn't she disappear? Your Highness the Princess. People looked up at the scene in the sky, all with a look of astonishment on their faces. Ahem, can you hear my voice? Princess Yu cleared her throat with a serious expression. The holographic projection device used by Li Huami is a super technology left by ancient humans. The craftsmen of the Kang family spent a lot of effort to manufacture it. This projection device can project images directly into the sky, and the sound will also be transmitted, so that people on the planet can hear it clearly. Your Highness. The Imperial soldiers knelt down and saluted the princess. In the name of the Imperial Princess, I order all the troops and armed forces on Xianyuan Star to support Xia Xingchen and attack the Northern Army at all costs. Repeat, at all costs. Princess Yu said in a deep voice. Princess Yu is the legitimate heir to the throne of the empire. Since Princess Yu has spoken, then we will go into battle and fight alongside Xia Xingchen. All mecha divisions are ready. Get ready to attack. The morale of the Imperial Army, which had been low, rose instantly. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. One after another, the mechas soared into the sky and were engaged in fierce battles. Not long after, with the bloody battles of Xia Xingchen's mecha corps, the wealthy families of Shan Yu and Star, and the Imperial Army, the situation of the battle was reversed. They actually blocked the attack of the Northern Army. Miracle. What a miracle. In the Elders' Council, Qin Baixuan looked up at the fierce battle in the sky, his eyes filled with tears of excitement. Your Majesty, it's not good. Xia Xingchen suddenly appeared and reversed the situation. If this goes on, we are likely to lose. General Vitus rushed into the cabin, where Andre was with an anxious look on his face. It doesn't matter. Andre smiled coldly and finally stood up from the throne. I will go and put an end to it all myself. Swish. Andre drove a blood-red mech and rushed to the front line of the battlefield. At this moment, the fighting on the front line was in full swing, with explosions and laser flashes everywhere, smoke everywhere, and murderous aura. But, after Andre arrived, with the blood-red mech as the center, blood-red energy ripples burst out one after another. All the mechas that entered this range, whether they were enemies or friends, exploded and turned into ashes. It's Andre. Everyone leave that area, and keep a distance of more than 10,000 meters from Andre. When Xia Xingchen saw Andre, his pupils suddenly shrank, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. Xia Xingchen, you coward. You finally come out. Come here and die. Andre's voice was cold. He stood alone in front of the two armies, extremely arrogant. Andre was alone, but the energy fluctuations that erupted from his body were as terrifying as thousands of troops. The mecha was surrounded by a blood-red light, and the whole person seemed to be sinking in a sea of blood, bloody and terrifying. Andre, are you going to challenge me in a duel? Xia Xingchen was slightly stunned. Andre was the emperor of the Northern Empire, but he appeared in front of the two armies and challenged himself. It can be seen how arrogant Andre was. How he didn't take himself seriously. Our grudges must be wiped out today. I can't allow you to die in the hands of others. The only one who can kill you is me. Come on, come and die. Andre hooked his finger at Xia Xingchen, motioning him to come forward, with an extremely contemptuous expression. Chapter 1620 Blood Demon Mecha. Behind Xia Xingchen, Keeler, Miyamoto Kenichi and others all looked grim. They knew that Andre was arrogant and looked down on everyone, but they didn't expect that he would come to the front of the two armies and directly challenge Xia Xingchen to a fight. Boss, don't pay attention to him. The situation of the Northern Army is not good. If this war continues, the Northern Army will definitely lose. At that time, Andre will be a dog without a home and can only argue. Keeler said in a low voice. Master, Andre has always been insidious and cunning. I'm afraid there is a conspiracy. In my opinion, it's better not to accept his moves, and it's better to play it safe. Miyamoto Kenichi had a bad feeling, and disagreed with Xia Xingchen's invitation to fight. Only Carissa was eager to try. Master, fight him. That Andre bullied me last time. I haven't settled the score with him yet. If you don't go, let me go first, and try his tricks. Carissa, don't make trouble. Xia Xingchen glared at Carissa and scolded. Master. Carissa felt a little wronged and cried. Xia Xingchen stood there motionless, looking at Andre with cold eyes. Andre actually risked his life and openly challenged Xia Xingchen to a fight. There must be some conspiracy. In other words, Andre is sure to win. The trick should be hidden in that blood-red new mecha. I have never seen Andre driving this mecha before. It may be a new technology given to him by the gods. Xia Xingchen said in his heart, the safest way is to not accept Andre's move. After all, this is a war between the North and the Empire. It is not just a personal grudge between the two of us. But, if I can kill Andre, then the morale of the Northern Army will collapse immediately. The war will end early. On the contrary, if Andre kills me, the Empire will be finished. The two of us decide the future of the Galactic Empire. It is also the fate of all mankind. Xia Xingchen hesitated. He really couldn't resist this temptation. Finally, Xia Xingchen took a deep breath stepped forward, and said in a deep voice, "Andre, I accept your invitation to fight. As you wish, only one of us can leave here alive." Xia Xingchen agreed for only one reason. If Xia Xingchen could kill Andre, the war would end early. The number of mecha divisions who died in this war would be greatly reduced. Enough human blood has been shed. Xia Xingchen whispered. "Xia Xingchen, you used tricks to make me lose to you twice. This is the greatest shame in my life. Today, I will use your blood to wash away my shame." Andre was overjoyed, staring at Xia Xingchen, and said in a deep voice. Xia Xingchen drove the beast god mecha and slowly stepped forward. His voice was cold. "I can kill you twice. I can kill you a third time." Andre sneered. "Why do you want to kill me? I have a celestial being behind me. Even if you kill me, I can be resurrected again." Xia Xingchen said coldly, "Then I will not only kill you, but also destroy the celestial being behind you. The celestial being is just a higher level of life, not an immortal god, and can also be injured and die." Xia Xingchen knew very well that the reason why Andre was so arrogant was that he had the spiritual celestial being as a support, so he was so arrogant. If it was before Xia Xingchen didn't understand the celestial being, he might have been a little afraid. But Xia Xingchen had entered the universal civilization network and seen the world of the celestial being. The celestial being, although advanced in technology and powerful in strength, but in the final analysis, it is just a higher level of life. Hearing Xia Xingchen's words, Andre's face changed immediately. In Andre's mind, a thunderous voice sounded. It was the consciousness planted in him by the elven celestial being, who said indifferently, "Andre, don't hold back, just kill him. But leave his spiritual body. I want to torture this ignorant insect. Let him suffer forever and never be able to transcend." Andre was delighted and said, "Okay. Please watch the battle, sir. I will definitely not let you down. I'm very happy to see Xia Xingchen suffer. Kill." With a loud shout, Xia Xingchen and Andre drove the mecha at the same time. The energy output reached the peak state, and they bombarded with all their strength. Boom. The two mechas burst out with dazzling light, and the energy torrents released collided with each other, and dense cracks appeared in the space. Not good. The energy burst out by the two of them is too terrifying. 10,000 meters is not a safe distance. Retreat again. Keelan immediately ordered his men to retreat to avoid being affected. Vitus's expression was also stern. He immediately ordered the northern army to retreat, leaving a large area of starry sky for Xia Xingchen and Andre to fight fiercely. The three forces of the north, the Empire, and the Star Arc had to temporarily cease fire due to the fierce battle between Xia Xingchen and Andre. In the starry sky, on Xianyu and Star, countless people were staring at the battle between the two, shocked. "Huh. Your elm has improved again. And your mecha energy is stronger than before." Andre was surprised. He had just fought with Xia Xingchen on Earth and thought he knew his strength very well. However, he did not expect that in such a short time, Xia Xingchen's strength had grown again, more than doubled compared to before. The secret of the element. With the help of the general principles of the universe, Xia Xingchen comprehended the secret of the element and his combat effectiveness was greatly improved. "Xia Xingchen, although you are very strong, you grow very fast. However, your mental strength is still not as good as mine. Your abilities and domains are all auxiliary. My domain is bloodthirsty for combat. My strength far exceeds yours. The reason why I always lose to you is because your mecha is too powerful, and I have never found a suitable mecha." Andre attributed the first two failures to the fact that the mecha was not as good as Xia Xingchen's. Of course, this is true. From the Revenge Knight to the Xianheng mecha to the Four Sacred Beast mecha, all the way to the final Beast God mecha, Xia Xingchen relied on the superior performance of the mecha to crush the same level, and even fought across levels, defeating the strong with the weak. In the future world, mechas are the key factor in determining victory or defeat. Andre is the Emperor of the Northern Empire, but he can only steal the Demon King mecha designed by Zhuo Lehun and Hao Xian from the Coffin Star. Although the Demon King mecha is powerful, it can only represent the crystallization of human technology and wisdom. And Xia Xingchen's Beast God mecha is simply an existence that human scientists and mecha designers cannot understand or copy. But I finally found this mecha that belongs to me. The Blood Demon mecha. Andre sneered. The blood demon mecha is not a super technology given by the elder celestial beings. Mecha technology is a marginal technology among the celestial beings. There are not many celestial beings who master mecha technology. The elder celestial beings have a deep study of spirit and soul, but they have no idea about mechanical technology. This is why the elder celestial beings did not give Andre a powerful mecha like the mecha celestial beings, but could only give him the secret art of soul. This blood demon mecha was excavated from an ancient celestial relic by Andre at the instruction of the elder celestial beings. The celestial relics are full of crises, and tens of thousands of people died for this blood demon mecha. But it's worth it. Andre sneered. Swish. The blood demon mecha turned into a blood red light, and it blasted towards Xia Xingchen at an astonishing speed. Chapter 1621. Fateful Battle. Come on. Xia Xingchen saw the blood demon mech rushing over and shouted. A dark golden spiral spear condensed in the hands of the beast god mech. His eyes suddenly burst into dazzling light, and violent spiritual energy spread from his body. His momentum was even stronger than Andre. The blood mist on the blood demon mech condensed into a blood-colored longsword in his hand. The blade was 100 meters long, and chopped down fiercely. Boom. The dark golden spear and the blood-colored longsword collided, making a terrifying sound that shook the starry sky. The beast god mech flew back hundreds of meters, before stabilizing its body. Xia Xingchen's face flushed, and his blood was churning. The blood demon mech, which was attacking wildly, was like a kite with a broken string. It retreated thousands of meters, before it could barely stand firm. Hahaha, is this all you have, Xia Xingchen? It's completely different from the last time, when you completely crushed me. Andre was at a disadvantage again in this fight. However, he was not panicked, but instead showed a happy expression on his face. Andre found the blood demon mech in the alien ruins. But he knew very well that the blood demon mech might not be more powerful than Xia Xingchen's beast god mech. In fact, it is difficult to find another mech stronger than the beast god mech in the Milky Way. Through this fight, Andre judged that, even if Xia Xingchen had the advantage of the mech, the overall combat power was only slightly stronger than his own. You know, Andre has not yet activated the bloodthirst. Once the bloodthirst is activated, Andre is confident that he can completely crush Xia Xingchen. Haha, you also surprised me a little. The performance of this blood-colored mech is good, but you are still not my opponent. Xia Xingchen smiled slightly, and a pair of colorful wings appeared behind the beast god mech, which was particularly conspicuous in the dark starry sky. Andre did not use his best skills. How could Xia Xingchen use his full strength? Just now, Xia Xingchen's attack, without even using the elemental secret, had already firmly gained the upper hand. Just now, it was just a test attack, to feel the performance of Andre's new mecha. Xia Xingchen has collected enough data, and made a judgment. If he had not obtained the general outline of the universe, and comprehended the secrets of the element, he would still be as strong as he was on Earth. Then, he would most likely fall into a hard fight and even be defeated by Andre. However, while Andre was looking for a new mecha, Xia Xingchen's strength was also advancing by leaps and bounds. All forces were watching the battle between Xia Xingchen and Andre carefully. This battle determined the fate of the Empire and the future of mankind. In the Royal Research Institute of Star, many scientists were gathered in front of a supercomputer, using the information they had just collected to simulate the battle between Xia Xingchen and Andre. The conclusion came out quickly. According to the mathematical model constructed at this moment, Xia Xingchen only had the upper hand temporarily, if he could not completely defeat Andre. The longer the battle dragged on, the more Andre's advantage of a stronger spiritual level would be reflected. If the two continued to fight, Andre would be the final winner. When the scientists saw this conclusion, they all looked desperate. However, the battle situation in the starry sky suddenly changed, and the scientists were stunned. They all looked shocked and surprised at the scene in the starry sky. Bloodthirsty. Andre was serious. His eyes were bloodshot and the blood vessels on his face were bulging, as if he was wearing a hideous devil mask. At the same time, the blood mist around the blood demon mecha was boiling and all drilled into the mecha. The outer armor of the blood demon mecha turned into a layer of crystal clear blood colored crystals, just like wearing a set of blood colored armor. Elemental armor. Xia Xingchen also shouted, and a layer of energy armor appeared on the surface of the body of the beast god Mecha. Spiral opening heaven. The dark golden spear in the hand of the beast god Mecha did not change in length, but became thicker and heavier, turning into a dark golden rotating drill. Boom. The two fought again. The dazzling golden light filled the entire starry sky. Bang. The blood-colored longsword turned into fragments the moment it touched the dark golden drill. The blood demon mech was hit directly, and the drill bit carried an incredible amount of terrifying energy, which instantly impacted the entire body of the blood demon mech. Crack. 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 Andre clearly heard the piercing wail of the blood demon mech. The blood-colored armor on the surface of the blood demon mech cracked and shattered. How is this possible? Andre's red eyes were full of shock and disbelief. Boom. The terrifying energy of the drill bit hit the blood demon mech wave after wave. Finally, the blood demon mech could not hold on, and flew backwards again like a meteor. Andre was also hit hard in the cockpit, and a stream of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. The damage to the mech is more than 22%. How is this possible? Has he surpassed the quasi-celestial being, and entered the realm of the celestial being? Andre was completely stunned. His mental power was already at the peak of the quasi-celestial being, and he was only one step away from the celestial being. Why was the gap between him and Xia Xingchen so big? And he was completely crushed again. Just one move, the damage to the blood demon mech was more than 1/5. This is too exaggerated. In other words, Xia Xingchen only needs to attack 5 times, and the blood demon mech will be completely destroyed? No. Andre shouted in despair, why? Why can't I beat you? It's very simple. Because your power is given by the gods, not your real power. And my power is obtained step by step, relying on my own efforts and cultivation. Although your mental power is strong, it is far less than mine. Xia Xingchen's expression was cold, and said it in one word. It is true that Xia Xingchen also had many adventures. If there was no source of faith, Xia Xingchen would never have reached the current height. However, the source of faith only improved Xia Xingchen's meditation efficiency, and never directly helped him to improve his spiritual level. Xia Xingchen's mental power was obtained by himself step by step, breaking through many difficulties, and practicing hard. And Andre? His mental power was completely given by the gods of the spirit race, not his own strength. Not good. I misjudged Xia Xingchen's strength. If we continue to fight, I might lose to Xia Xingchen again. I only have one soul gem, and I have already consumed it. If I am killed by Xia Xingchen again, the celestial being will not be able to revive me. Andre felt fear. Escape. So many people are watching. What will the soldiers in the north think when they see me fleeing in a hurry? Andre's heart trembled. Although he knew that he was not Xia Xingchen's opponent, he was the emperor of the Northern Empire after all. He was the one who proposed this battle. If he ran away, wouldn't he be slapping himself in the face? I can't run away. Fight. Andre made up his mind and did not choose to run away. Instead, he turned on bloodthirstiness again, drove the blood demon mecha, and rushed towards Xia Xingchen. Spiral open sky. Xia Xingchen's pupils shrank, and murderous intent floated on his face. He no longer reserved his strength, and used all his strength to attack. Boom. The chest of the blood demon mecha was completely pierced by the drill bit, and a large black hole appeared. Chapter 1622, Really Dead. Boom. The chest of the blood demon mech was pierced. If it were an ordinary mech, it would be impossible to repair such a serious damage. But the blood demon mech, after all, is a creation of alien technology, so its recovery ability cannot be measured by common sense. The blood demon mech exuded a strong scarlet blood energy, which gathered at the damaged part, and repaired the damaged circuit and key components. In just a blink of an eye, the damaged part of the blood demon mech was restored to normal, but the external armor was still damaged, and a dark spot appeared on the blood red body, which looked very eye-catching. Who? Andre panted heavily. In order to repair the blood demon mech, he consumed a lot of his mental power. In addition to the mental power consumed in the battle just now, the mental power left in his mind was less than 30%. On the other hand, Xia Xingchen's mental power was at least 70% to 80%, almost not consumed. Andre originally planned to rely on his higher mental power level to fight Xia Xingchen and fight a protracted war. With only 30% of mental power left, Andre naturally couldn't afford it, and the original plan had completely gone down the drain. What should I do? How can I defeat Xia Xingchen? Andre frowned and thought hard. Facing Xia Xingchen, he was like facing a towering mountain. Even someone as strong as Andre could only feel deep despair. No matter what, I must first recover my mental strength before I can continue to fight. Andre took a deep breath, calmed his mind, and began to call the elder in his mind. My lord, I'm no match for Xia Xingchen. My mental strength is almost exhausted. Please fulfill your promise and help me defeat the enemy. Andre put his hands on his chest and clenched them, with a pious face. A distant and vast voice sounded directly in Andre's mind, with shock in the voice. Andre, you have the blood demon mecha, but you are still not a match for Xia Xingchen? My lord. Andre was embarrassed. I'm not his opponent. Please help me. Swish. A blood-colored crystal appeared in front of Andre out of thin air, and there seemed to be thunder surging in the crystal, releasing terrifying energy fluctuations. Swallow this void crystal. You can temporarily increase your power to the heavenly man realm. However, the side effects of this void crystal are extremely great, so you have to think carefully. The voice of the spiritual clan Heavenly Man echoed in Andre's mind. Heavenly Man realm. Andre's eyes lit up, and without thinking, he grabbed the void crystal in his hand and swallowed it with his head tilted back. As long as he could kill Xia Xingchen, what would it matter if this body was shattered? Anyway, the spiritual clan Heavenly Man could create a new body for him. The void crystal was hot all over, as if it was a piece of red hot iron. Andre endured the severe pain and swallowed it forcefully. After the crystal entered his body, it appeared out of thin air at the position of his heart. As his heart beat, the crystal emitted waves of energy ripples. Andre clenched his hands tightly, his expression excited, and shouted hoarsely, "Power! I feel the surging power in my body." Boom. The blood demon mech burst into a blood red light, like a group of blood-colored stars, extremely dazzling. Did the celestial being give Andre some secret treasure of the starry sky? Xia Xingchen frowned. Due to the existence of the galactic barrier, in most cases, the celestial being cannot interfere with the interior of the galaxy, nor can it send items into the galaxy, unless this celestial being is willing to pay a huge price. Seeing the momentum of Andre rising, Xia Xingchen's face showed a solemnity. Xia Xingchen clearly felt that Andre had crossed the insurmountable obstacle and was promoted from a quasi-celestial being to a celestial being. Of course, the energy fluctuations on Andre's body were high and low, and it was not stable, and he could fall at any time. A real celestial being. Xia Xingchen felt a strong sense of oppression from Andre. He had killed a mechanical celestial being before. However, that was not the complete body of mechanical celestial being. It was just a mechanical puppet clone. The strength was equivalent to that of a star level, or a quasi-celestial being. Hahaha, Xia Xingchen. You humble life. I finally became a celestial being. You are just an ant in front of me. Andre laughed wildly. Heavenly man. Is this the power of a heavenly man? Too powerful. I feel like I'm the universe. I'm a god. Humph, what is a spiritual heavenly man? In front of me, all life must kneel down and worship. Andre was extremely arrogant. What a madman. Xia Xingchen frowned slightly, and his omniscience suddenly detected something wrong. The energy fluctuations on Andre's body, after reaching a peak, were actually fading rapidly, but Andre had been overwhelmed by the power, and had not yet discovered the changes in his body. Take advantage of your illness to kill you. Xia Xingchen knew that this was his only chance to take action. If Andre was really promoted to a heavenly man, he would not have any chance of winning. The gap between a quasi-heavenly man and a heavenly man is huge. They are two completely different life forms, just like an ant and an elephant. Elemental torrent. Xia Xingchen shouted in a deep voice, and billions of rays of light burst out from the beast god mecha. The pure elemental energy gathered into a huge energy drill, bombarding the blood demon mecha. Too weak. Andre looked disdainful, stretched out his right hand, and a blood-colored barrier condensed in front of the mecha, ready to confront the elemental torrent. However, Andre suddenly felt a pain in his heart, and he quickly covered his chest with his left hand, frowning. Boom. The elemental torrent completely submerged the blood demon mecha. The energy torrent lasted for a full 30 seconds before gradually subsiding. The place where the blood demon mecha was originally located was empty. Escaped. Or? Xia Xingchen immediately unfolded the omniscience domain. Swish. Xia Xingchen captured the tiny particles of the blood demon mecha in space. The blood demon mecha did not escape, but was completely blasted into pieces in the elemental torrent and turned into particles. Where is Andre? Xia Xingchen's heart trembled, and the omniscience domain captured an unidentified object in the starry sky ahead. From the screen, it was a small black dot. Xia Xingchen immediately enlarged the screen and found that the unidentified object was actually Andre. Andre was lying in a blood-red crystal. His face was pale, his eyes were closed, and there was no life wave on his body. He looked like a dead man. Andre is dead. Xia Xingchen couldn't believe his eyes. Really dead. Seeing the body of his old enemy floating in the starry sky, Xia Xingchen felt a sense of unreality. Xia Xingchen killed Andre twice, and he was resurrected twice. Will there be a third time? Xia Xingchen is not sure yet. Your Majesty. Your Majesty is dead. The radar of the Northern Starship captured Andre lying in a blood-red crystal, completely without any vital signs, like a corpse. The Northern Army immediately fell into chaos. Chapter 1623 The Threat from the Celestial Beings. Calm down. All Northern soldiers, stay calm. General Vitus broadcasted on the public channel to calm the army. I'm Commander Vitus. Don't panic. All this is arranged by His Majesty. Don't forget that His Majesty has been resurrected more than once. His Majesty is a great being blessed by heaven and man. He will not die so easily. Hearing Vitus' words, the morale of the Northern Army was slightly relieved. Think about it. His Majesty Andre took the initiative to challenge Xia Xingchen to fight to the death in front of the two armies. How could he be killed so easily? Moreover, although the blood demon mech was destroyed, Andre's body was still there, lying in a strange blood-red crystal. Maybe this crystal is Andre's trump card. However, after waiting for a long time, Andre in the red crystal was still lying, without any movement. No matter how to detect, no signs of life could be found. It was obviously a dead man. The generals of the north couldn't help but whisper to each other, and the expressions on their faces became more and more ugly. Is Andre really dead? Xia Xingchen was also suspicious, thinking that Andre couldn't die so easily. And that blood-red crystal, what on earth is it? Xia Xingchen drove the beast god mecha and carefully went forward to explore. But before Xia Xingchen could get close, the crystal suddenly trembled, and Andre's body turned into countless particles in the vibration of the crystal. The body shattered, and Xia Xingchen saw a vague figure appear in the red crystal, which was Andre's spirit body. The spirit body of ordinary people is invisible and intangible, but the spirit of a legendary mecha master can already materialize. So Andre's spirit body is in a translucent state, and it can be clearly seen that the expression on his face is extremely painful. Ah, I was deceived. Elder, that void crystal is not something that can improve my strength. On the contrary, it is devouring my body. Andre's spirit body screamed miserably, with a distorted face. Swish. A 3-meter diameter light ball appeared above the blood-colored crystal, emitting a soft white light and making a sound. Andre, you are such a fool. The void crystal is certainly not a secret treasure of the starry sky that can improve your strength. What do you think our race has put so much effort into you? It is for this moment. Come. With your powerful soul's nourishment, summon the void gate and connect to the other side of the distant universe. This light ball is the projection of the celestial being of the Elder Clan, and it mercilessly ridiculed Andre. Boom. The red crystal completely devoured Andre's spirit body, and then it shattered and turned into a ball of black mist. In the black mist, there was a strong spatial fluctuation, with green and blue light shooting out from it. The black mist spread rapidly, covering an increasingly large space, and in a blink of an eye it covered a distance of tens of thousands of meters, and continued to spread. Ah, His Majesty's spirit body was destroyed by the celestial being. His Majesty is really dead. Vitus panicked. His mind went blank. General, General. The adjutant shouted repeatedly. His Majesty is dead. What should we do now? And what about that black fog? What on earth is it? Northern Army, listen to my order. Temporarily retreat. Leave the range of the black fog. Vitus woke up from his dream and ordered hurriedly. Andre is dead. In the Star Domain arc, Claude burst into tears and whispered, "Father, I finally avenged you. You can rest assured in heaven." Finally dead. This time even the soul was destroyed. It is impossible to resurrect. Yes. With Andre's death, the Northern Army lost its backbone and could not be the opponent of the Empire at all. Kila, Miyamoto Kenichi, Lee Huamui and others were chatting, their faces full of surprise. We won. Andre is dead. The Northern Army is withdrawing. We won. Or thunderous cheer rang out on Shineon Star. Everyone was overjoyed, with excited smiles on their faces. Many people rushed to the streets, singing and dancing, hugging, and kissing each other. In the joyful atmosphere, Xia Xingchen was not happy. He frowned and stared at the spreading black fog, and the white light ball floating above the black fog. Andre died, but he did not die in my hands, but died in the conspiracy of the spirit race. The spirit race gave him a void crystal, and tricked him into swallowing it. This void crystal, with the help of Andre's powerful soul power, spread a large black fog in the starry sky. What is this black fog? Andre is just a pawn of the spirit race. The spirit race spent a huge price to cultivate Andre, and promoted Andre to the realm of quasi-heavenly people, just to let the void crystal devour his spiritual body. All for this moment. What do the spirit race want to do? Are you Xia Xingchen, the inheritor of the ancient humans? The white light ball flickered, communicating directly with Xia Xingchen through mental power. I am. Xia Xingchen nodded. Xia Xingchen, I order you to release the spirit of Lord Sada of the Eternal God Clan immediately. I can consider leaving the lives of your friends and relatives behind. When I destroy humans, you will be treated as pets and sold to celestial beings who are interested in humans. Otherwise, I will destroy all humans, leaving no one alive. The celestial being of the Elder threatened. What a big tone. Xia Xingchen smiled coldly. I know that you celestial beings cannot pass through the galactic barrier laid by the ancient humans. You can only scare me. If you have the guts, you can directly descend to the Milky Way. Even if it's just a clone, I'll beat you to a pulp. Destroy humanity? You're not the only one who said this. The celestial being of the mechanical clan also said this. What was the result? They were killed by me, and the celestial being felled. Xia Xingchen had long guessed that the backers of the celestial beings of the Elder Clan were the Eternal God Clan. The reason why the Elder Clan provoked a civil war among humans was already very clear. First, they wanted to find Sada of the Eternal God Clan who was sealed in the Cage of Faith. Second, they wanted to complete the unfinished business of the Eternal God Clan and completely destroy humanity. The Eternal God Sada has been completely destroyed by Xia Xingchen. Not even the elementary particles are left. Even if Sada is still there, Xia Xingchen will never hand over this big devil. Are you kidding? If the big devil who caused the Ragnarok of the Earth era is released, mankind will really be destroyed. Haha, a mere human, relying on the galactic barrier, hiding in a rat hole, has a big mouth. The light ball sneered. Yes, the galactic barrier is very troublesome. But, to destroy you humans, I don't need to do it myself. Do you know what this black fog is? It is the void gate transformed by the void crystal. This is a cosmic portal that ignores the distance of space. Take a closer look. What is on the other side? Xia Xingchen's expression was stern, and he quickly concentrated his mental power and looked through the black fog. On the other side of the black fog, it turned out to be a huge dark brown planet. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1624 Lizard Tribe. This planet is very large, 3 times the size of Shineon Star. There are countless ugly creatures on the surface of the planet. There are 2 types of these creatures. One is tall, about 3 meters tall, with scales all over the body, golden eyes, a long and forked tongue, like a snake, wearing shiny metal armor, and ugly and ferocious. The other is slender and tall, with a delicate face. Although there are scales on the face, it is smooth and delicate, a bit like the elves in human legends. The ugly ones are males, and the beautiful ones are females. There are a lot of males, but their status is obviously lower. There are very few females, but their status is higher. A typical matriarchal society. Lizard man. Xia Xingchen's heart trembled. When Xia Xingchen got the source of faith in the underground research institute of the Mank people on Manastar, he had seen the history of the Mank people. The Mank people evolved from apes. Due to the rich resources on the mother planet, the civilization of the Mank people has been in a primitive society for a long time. Later, a group of lizardmen with brutal temperament came to the planet of the Manko people, enslaved the Manko people, and sold them as slaves. Under the cruel oppression of the lizardmen, the fire of wisdom of the Manko people was ignited. They resisted the tyranny of the lizardmen, and finally gained freedom through countless struggles. Later, they continued to evolve and became the overlord of a starfield. The technology of the Manko people was extremely advanced, and even the entire race was almost promoted to become a celestial being. However, the Manko people took a wrong step. They were too in-depth in their research on artificial intelligence, but they did not have the ability to control artificial intelligence. In the end, the Manko people were destroyed by artificial intelligence. Destroyed by their own creations. The entire civilization was annihilated and disappeared in the long river of time. The Manko people perished, but what about the lizardmen who once enslaved them? Xia Xingchen had thought about this question before, but there was no answer. Now, Xia Xingchen understood it. The civilization level of this group of lizardmen is much higher than that of the Manko people. After a long time, many of their strong men have become promoted to celestial beings, that is, the spirit race. It is extremely difficult for a race to be promoted to celestial beings. When the strong of a race are promoted to heavenly beings, they will protect the previous race. And those tribesmen who have not been promoted to heavenly beings are called companion tribes. These lizardmen are the companion tribes of the spirit race heavenly beings. The mechanical race is a relatively special existence in the universe. Most of them evolve and promote themselves, and are independent individuals without blood relatives. Therefore, the mechanical race has no companion tribes, only the mechanical race alliance formed by themselves. But the spirit race heavenly beings have companion tribes. Even if the door of the void is opened, the heavenly beings cannot pass through the barrier and enter the Milky Way. But its companion tribe can. The spirit race heavenly beings are actually going to use all their tribe strength to eliminate humans. It's really a bloody expense. Xia Xingchen frowned. He felt a strong sense of foreboding. The lizardmen enslaved the Manko people many years ago and are a powerful race. Can we win? Xia Xingchen couldn't help but doubt. This is an empty and barren starry sky. Except for this dark brown mother star, there is no planet within a light year. In order to be promoted to heavenly beings, the lizards drained all the planets within a light year and turned them into pure energy. The empty starry sky seemed like an endless abyss, dark and depressing. On the mother planet, a slender figure was looking up at the starry sky. Seeing the black fog spreading, a cold smile appeared on her beautiful face. The door of the void is indeed open. The time to attack humans has finally come. Her voice was gentle, her eyes were full of endless charm, and she was wearing a layer of close-fitting silver armor, outlining her enchanting figure. The lizards, like the Scorching Sun tribe, are a matriarchal society, and the entire tribe is controlled by the Lizard Queen. She is the Lizard Queen Melissa. Below Queen Melissa, there are countless lizard warriors. They are tall, wearing metal armor, and stepping on bat-like star beasts. The lizards are born with strong mental power, and can manipulate the mind. They once developed a technological civilization, with warships and mechas. However, as they continued to evolve, the lizards found that they were not good at technology. Therefore, they have now given up technology and focused on spiritual practice. The lizards do not rely on technologies such as starships and mechas to fight. Instead, they rely on the star beasts that they tame with their mental power and their innate mental attacks. Long live the queen. Long live the gods. The lizard warriors raised their arms and shouted, and their voices resounded through the stars. Warriors, let the tiny humans see what a higher life is. What is the real overlord of the universe? Queen Melissa shouted loudly. Warriors, fight for glory. Swish. The lizard warriors stepped on the bat-shaped star beasts and soared into the sky. At an astonishing speed, they directly passed through the atmosphere, left their home planet, and flew towards the direction of the Void Gate. What? No need for spacesuits. Directly enter the universe. Are they born to survive in the universe? Xia Xingchen saw the lizard warriors flying over in an overwhelming manner, and his heart trembled. No. Xia Xingchen looked intently and found that the surface of the lizard warriors' bodies was emitting white light. It was a transparent film formed by mental power, which wrapped their whole bodies. Relying on the protection of mental barriers to survive in space, Xia Xingchen was stunned. With Xia Xingchen's current mental power, he could also be exposed to space for a short time without wearing a mecha combat suit. However, Xia Xingchen could only maintain it for a few minutes at most before his mental power was exhausted. The environment in space is too harsh. Not only oxygen, but also gravity, temperature, and air pressure. All aspects must be taken care of. However, the lizards can do it. This shows how powerful their mental power is. Swish. The speed of the lizards was amazing. The vanguard had passed through the black fog and appeared outside Xia Xingchen. Strong enemies are attacking. Level 1 alert. Prepare for battle. Xia Xingchen shouted. Enemy? Where are there enemies in the black fog? The Marquis' voice is trembling. Even he is so nervous. Xia Xingchen's roar awakened everyone from the joy of victory, and they quickly focused their attention on the black fog. Swish. A lizard stepped on a bat-like void beast and flew out of the black fog. It saw the prosperous Xia Xingchen at a glance, and its eyes were full of greed and bloodthirsty desire. Ha ha ha. The planet of humans. Destroyed completely. The lizards are cruel by nature and like to conquer and destroy. When they see a planet with life, their eyes light up. Chapter 1625 Powerful Enemy. The warriors of the lizard tribe flew out of the void gate in an endless stream, stepping on huge bat-shaped star beasts. Aliens? What kind of race is this? I have never seen such aliens in the Milky Way. They should come from a distant galaxy. They flew out of the black fog. What do they want to do? Do they want to go to war with humans? Everyone on Xia Xingchen and the starry sky saw these lizard warriors coming fiercely, and their faces were full of surprise. The spiritual talent of the lizard tribe is very high. They communicate not through language, but directly through brain waves. Therefore, their strong desire for aggression is transmitted to every human brain without any concealment. Evil. The lizard tribe is too evil. Naked blood and killing. I have never seen such an evil and bloody race. Everyone's body couldn't stop trembling, and they were shocked by the evil of the lizard tribe. You want to invade us humans? You really don't know how to live or die. In the Imperial Army, an S-class mecha master from a wealthy family on Xia Xingchen shouted angrily. He could no longer hold back, and took the lead in driving his mecha out of the battle formation, and rushed towards a lizard warrior in the front. Aliens, die. The S-class mecha master shouted, and two black giant axes appeared in the mecha's hands, and chopped down hard on the lizard warrior's head. Stupid human. The lizard warrior smiled coldly, raised his right hand slightly, and the empty right palm immediately shone with dazzling light, condensing into a blood-red spear. Swish. The blood-red spear flew through the air and directly pierced the cockpit of the S-class mecha master. Boom. The mecha exploded, and turned into a ball of fire. Weakling. The lizard warrior looked disdainful, and his eyes swept over the human mecha army with contempt. Ah. With just one move, an S-class mecha master was killed. Where did this weird alien race get the blood-red spear in his hand just now? Is it mental concentration? Let's go together and avenge Wu Liang. This S-class mecha master is called Wu Liang, and he has some reputation among mecha masters. Many mecha masters shouted angrily and rushed up in their mechas. No matter how many trash come, it's useless. The lizard warriors continued to condense blood-red spears in their hands and threw them out. Each blood-red spear hit accurately and destroyed a mecha. In the blink of an eye, countless fireballs emerged around the lizard warriors, and hundreds of mechas were easily destroyed by him. No mecha could get close to him within 10,000 meters. Humans are really a weak race. The lizard warrior stretched out his scarlet forked long tongue and licked it continuously. Lizards use their tongues to capture the smell in the air. Of course, it was impossible to smell anything in the starry sky, but he habitually stuck out his tongue to taste the bloody smell that intoxicated him. Have you killed enough? A cold voice sounded in the mind of the lizard warrior. Swish. A dark golden spear shadow pierced straight at him. The lizard warrior felt a strong sense of oppression. When he looked up, he saw a dark golden mecha that was 100 meters high and as huge as a mountain. In the cockpit, Xia Xingchen was staring at him coldly. The lizard warrior was 3 meters tall, which was not short compared to humans, but in front of the tall beast god mecha, he was as small as a bug. The dark golden spiral spear, which was 100 meters long, pierced towards the lizard warrior like a giant pillar. Ding. The lizard warrior was extremely fierce. He condensed a blood-colored spear in his hand and stabbed upwards. It collided with the spiral spear and burst into brilliant sparks. Boom. The blood-colored spear in the hand of the lizard warrior broke into pieces, and the star beast under his feet could not bear the pressure, and with a mournful cry, it turned into a pool of meat paste. His body was flashing with light that flickered, and he was struggling to resist Xia Xingchen's attack. An ordinary lizard warrior actually resisted my attack. Xia Xingchen was stunned. When he just attacked, he was angry and used 80% of his strength to kill the lizard warrior with one blow. First, Xia Xingchen was angry and merciless. Second, Xia Xingchen wanted to kill the enemy to establish his prestige and boost the morale of mankind. You know, even a Nebula level legendary mecha master would find it difficult to resist Xia Xingchen's attack. However, this ordinary lizard warrior actually resisted it. Does it mean that an ordinary warrior has legendary strength? Xia Xingchen's heart trembled, and the beast god mecha thrust the spear again. Boom. The dark golden light swept over, and the lizard warrior finally couldn't hold on. His body exploded and turned into a ball of blood mist. A wisp of translucent spirit flew out of the blood mist and flew towards the direction of the void gate, trying to return to the lizard's home planet. The spirit wants to escape. Can it escape? Xia Xingchen shouted coldly and pointed with his right hand. Swish. A 3-meter high crystal pyramid rotated and flew out, landing on the top of the lizard warrior's head. White light shone from the top on his spirit. The spirit of the lizard warrior screamed and was sucked into the crystal pyramid. The spirit is an illusory existence for humans. Except for a few soul power users, most people do not have the ability to trap the spirit. Xia Xingchen couldn't do anything with the spirit. However, Xia Xingchen had a belief cage that could directly imprison the spirit. The lizard tribe is indeed the companion tribe of the spirit tribe. It's just an ordinary warrior. I have to use 2 moves to destroy the body. The body is destroyed, and the spirit body is still escaping. I guess there is a way to revive it. Xia Xingchen's body trembled, and his heart was full of ominousness. You know, there is more than one enemy. Thousands of lizard tribe warriors are passing through the void gate and flying over continuously. Not far behind Xia Xingchen, Kirissa drove the elemental overlord mecha, condensed an elemental light blade in her hand, and chopped it down on the head of a lizard tribe warrior. Swish. The lizard tribe warrior and the starry sky beast under his feet were split in half. Kirissa looked relatively relaxed facing these lizard tribe warriors, but she had no way to deal with the escaping spirit body and could only frown and watch. What? A ghost? It escapes so fast. Kile and Miyamoto Kenichi were in a hard fight. The two of them fought closely with the lizard tribe warrior respectively, and finally barely killed him. Their foreheads were covered with fine beads of sweat, and they were tired and panting. What a powerful alien. I'm almost no match for him. Yes, he is. I've already been promoted to legend, but I'm still struggling. Kile and Miyamoto Kenichi looked towards the direction of the void gate. The lizard tribe was flying out in overwhelming numbers. Despair flashed across their faces. No matter what. Keep killing. Fight like hell. Kile and Miyamoto Kenichi gritted their teeth, drove their mechas towards the lizard tribe, and fought hard. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.